Live from Livestream Entertainment's mobile studio. It's the best damn internet show. With your host, Ken Hurley. And now, here's your host, Ken Hurley.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Best Damn Internet Show. I am Ken Hurley, and as always, my guest host is Steven Sperling. Stay hi, Steve.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, this is Steven Sperling.
That's fine.
This is really Steven Sperling.
Hey, what we're going to do is, this is actually going to be, we had some problems. We had some technical problems like we did a couple of weeks ago that we're trying to work out. What we're going to do is this is going to be, we're going to post this the day after. So you're going to see this on Wednesday. Go ahead and give me a mic check.
Check, 1, 2.
Sound okay?
Yeah.
Anything up in the headphones? Or down any?
You tell me. It's a little,
Yeah, ain't nothing I can do about that.
Okay. That's cool. People like this nowadays. They like all that juicy sound. I don't know.
Juicy sound.
Yeah.
I said it said on bassist. I sound like Barry White.
Yeah.
So, folks, what we're going to do today is for all of those tuning in at home, hi, thank you very much for tuning into the second episode, kind of half an episode of Best Damn Internet Show, brought to you by Livestream Entertainment. My guest today was going to be Abbe Davis, and we were going to talk to her about her magazine that she does and her band that she does and her original music and all kinds of stuff. And we are going to do that at a later date. What we are going to do today actually was Abby's idea. Since Abby actually does this for a living, kind of. Here? Better? Okay. So what Abby actually does is actually she is a she's a reporter, basically, right?
Interview, yeah.
Interviewer.
Yes. Music journalist is what
She's a
they call
music
us.
journalist. That's the word I was
There we
actually
go.
looking for.
Writer,
I was looking for you're a
music-
journalist.
I don't know. I'm just a person.
But a person who does things, and one of those things that she does is she's a journalist. She's a musical journalist, and that's a part of the thing that we were going to talk to her about. But she had the idea of interviewing me today.
That's right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, here is your interview. Actually, I'm going to give it to you.
Awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, Abbe Davis.
All right. I want to bring you Ken Hurley today. He's the man. That's right. Hey, where'd you guys go? Come back. I love it. That's awesome.
I have the weirdest.
We musicians live for that sound. I wanted to know all about you because I think you've been on the scene down here for a while. Is that correct?
Yes, I have.
How many years is that?
I've been on the scene for about 11 years, about 11, 12 years down here.
Is that Broward and Dade combined, or is that mostly Broward? Or
Actually, when I started, I kind of was very multi-county wide when I started. The bands that I had been in, I think from the get-go, we played like Palm Beach. We played.
So if I go back, I guess about 20 years, which bands were you in then?
20 years, I was not in South Florida.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. 20 years. Let's see. That would have been.
When did you start with music? How about that?
I started music at the age of 7.
Tell me about it.
I started singing with my family's Southern gospel group called the Jones Family. And my mom got me on stage at the age of 7 years old, and I sang at the Ritter Baptist Church. And my first song was Standing on the Rock of Ages with my mom.
How'd you feel doing that at that age?
Like it was just getting up singing at the house.
So would you say you were like a ham, or were you shy, or you weren't shy at all, probably, right?
I come from a really humble house. So we weren't really, you didn't showboat when you sang gospel music, right? I mean, so my mom would tell you that we sang Southern gospel, not country gospel, and there's a huge difference.
Tell me, what is the difference? Because I need to be educated about this.
It took me a while to figure that out, but people would call her like a country gospel singer. And she said, no, country is more radio, the same things you hear on the radio, Statler Brothers,
Okay.
J.D. Sumner and the Stamps, which the people that sang behind Elvis,
All right.
you know, they were country singers. And so she believed that we were, because we really didn't do electric guitars. We did 2 acoustic guitars and like 5-part harmony. So it was very Americana, bluegrassy, Southern. I mean, just that front porch feel,
Right.
you know, very family.
But
harmony.
when you say gospel, so, but it also has a more of a message, like spiritual in nature.
It was straight up gospel. It was straight
Okay.
up Southern gospel. Closest thing that I could probably tell anybody of mainstream that you would know would be like Ricky Skaggs, something like that.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Johnny Cash, or not necessarily Johnny Cash, but more.
I love Johnny Cash.
More of course, now I forget her name. The Carter family.
Oh yeah,
So-
June Carter.
Well, June Carter's and her family are actually they're. It's arguable that they invented the country music sound, that country music format, kind of how you say it.
Well, these are people who they grew up on it, and it's true to their background and their roots, pretty much. In other words, they didn't just decide to go be in the scene; they lived it, pretty much. Is that why?
Yeah, that's what makes it authentic. Anything that I think that it's like put it in any genre. So like a true rocker. You do have guys that found it at a later thing and said, hey, I can do this, and they try that. But the guys that you know that you believe are the guys that were wearing, you know, like we'll talk about the 80s guys who were kids in the 80s wearing spandex and going to school with Nikki Sixx hair. The guy lived it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he's going to, when he gets up and he plays, it's going to drip out of every pore that he has.
Right.
Same thing with that. It's that's just how I knew it.
Yeah.
So it was authentic because it was real.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now, but then, so when was the next time that what about instruments or just like getting into a band or anything like that? When did that happen?
I am the world's worst guitar player.
I don't think so.
No, I'm pretty bad.
No, you're up. You and I have to have a contest here. I love to hate that instrument.
I try so hard to play guitar, and I end up, I kind of get engrossed with the way I sing is very encompassing. We'll say that. Like I say, I sing from my soul. So when I do that, it's really hard for me to concentrate on anything else.
All right, that's cool. Hey, there are a lot of front men and front women out there who they don't play an instrument, but they may be writing or they may be doing a lot of things they're the front person. So
Right.
That's important. And spoken to plenty of artists who will tell you that it is the hardest job in a band in that you have to take care of your voice and it's your body. Like you can't go change your strings, you know?
You are the instrument. I mean,
That's it,
and that's
right?
the, you know, like I rarely ever call off a gig. And when I do, it's just because my instrument's broken. You know?
Yeah.
And that's the best way I can describe it to somebody. You know, when your guitar, you know, have any strings, you ain't playing.
Nah, I know. Yeah, no, nothing's going to come out then. What I wanted to know about, so what are some of the bands down here in South Florida that you've been in?
Okay. My long running, the first band I ever been, we'll just start there. My first band that I was ever in was a band called Simon, which I needed to be in a band. I had made up my mind that I was going to do. I'm going to digress. I'm going to go back we'll tell you just to how I got to this point. I quit singing Southern gospel music at the age of like 18, around there. A little while after that, I went in the Marine Corps, kind of did all that, did life stuff.
Okay, wait. So I got to ask you about this, all right? Now my mind's going, wait a minute. Okay, so you go from that. What got you to do that?
It was the farthest, they were going to take me the farthest away from home.
Where?
That I could go, California. That was the farthest that I could get away from it.
No, what's going on through your mind, like, about
I
that?
just wanted to go, I have the traveling bones.
Yeah.
I want to say when I first got my car, I drove to like the border of Indiana because I wanted to drive as far as I could go to come back home. You know what I mean? So like I'm just that guy. I just every now and then I just need to kind of go.
Wait, do you have a motorcycle?
I have. I worked at Harley Davidson for a long time.
Okay, what do you have now?
I have nothing right now.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my last bike, I traded for a '57 Chevy.
Do you miss I
miss them both.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, we got a whole. Okay, now I'm putting that. See, now I got to put that. I got to
we
file
don't have
that story.
We don't have enough time.
Ken, there's like a lot of stuff I want to. Okay, so how
we'll get from. Okay,
how
so
did you adjust going from? Oh man. Okay, so
I know I jump around a lot.
It's all right. We all do that. Okay, so how do you adjust from going? Now, what kind of town were you in?
I was in Indianapolis, Indiana. I was in a big city.
Okay.
But I was on the east side, close to the country.
All
so I had a lot of friends who were lived in the next town over, is like 13 miles away, and that's like in the sticks. So
you have like you have like those high school or those guys who want to be in a band and you just jam and stuff and you have a good time and you sing. Did you have guys like that you hung out with?
No.
Because
I was my family was in the gospel so much. They didn't keep me from having friends, but when you're spend your weekends trying to go to church and doing gospel singings on Saturday nights and Wednesday nights and Friday night revivals and Saturday homecomings, and those are all the Southern gospel things that.
Did you go to like Cotillion? Was it like that? Was it like I mean, it sounds like it was strict. Were you raised? No wonder you wanted to drive to the edge of town, man.
It
wasn't like Footloose, was it? Where like no music, no dancing, and that's going to lead to.
No. It was a city.
Was everyone all right with was rock and roll okay, or kind of? No. Tell me what they thought about rock and roll.
That was secular. So
really?
I listened to that when I was a bad boy, when I was on the school bus. I could listen to that stuff.
So how about the Allman Brothers? When's the first time you heard them?
Way later. I'm gonna finish a couple of those stories real quick and sum them up real quick. So, no music at all for years, and then I moved to Nebraska to be with some friends of mine to work at another Harley shop to help a friend of mine get his tattoo business started, who is now a world famous tattoo artist. And while I was in Nebraska, I had a guy who walked into the Harley shop and said, hey, anybody, he was buying some parts, and he said, hey, if anybody in here, anybody here can play instruments or anything, I have a studio that I'm putting together, and I'm doing a little record company, and I'm looking for players or singers. And I said, yeah, I can sing. And the dudes at the counter looked at me like,
you do not.
They're like, right? So I told them, I was like, yeah. So that point, I was now on a mission because these dudes thought I was full of shit. So
okay.
I
had to prove it.
I had pretty much hung up singing for a long time because I had it in my head. My family actually had it in my head, and I'm not blaming. It's just kind of a fact. Is they thought that if I wasn't doing gospel, that I shouldn't be doing music. And I carried that up until my mom passed away. She was just really not happy. She was like, "Well, the blues are kind of okay," but
yeah, but the blues, man, they sing about like Little Red Top, and she didn't know the code, huh?
No, she don't know.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't tell her about that, or going to the fish market, songs like that. I don't think she would have liked that too much.
Good Morning Little Schoolgirl from Muddy Waters.
So many.
But so I went and sang into his Magic Box, and he liked what I did, and then from that point, I actually had to learn about getting my voice back, my singing voice. It had been so many years since I had actually done anything. So,
how does it feel though to, like, I was raised where like there's art and music and you just dig it, and my parents were kind of groovy that way, but like how does it feel to kind of have to keep that quiet? I mean, did that drive you crazy?
It did drive me literally crazy.
Where did you go? When did you go? Did you go in your car as a teenager and just start screaming, or go to someone's house? I mean, start singing, and like, what do you do? How do you get it out? I don't know how to hold that in.
You know what? That's the thing, is that it was pretty self-destructive. I was the guy who was like the crazy partier guy that didn't have any limits for a while.
So you were just numbing it.
Yeah, pretty much, because I kind of looked at like, well, if I can't do the thing that I feel like I was meant to do, then I really don't have a purpose, right? So it wasn't until I'm living 1,000 miles away from home, working at a Harley shop and kind of being my own person in my own life,
Yeah.
to where I felt like I could do that and nobody would judge me or nobody would say anything.
So then what happened with this group and singing and starting to get back in?
Well, I did the recording studio thing, and then I wrote a lot, and so I did 2 records with those guys, and I just kind of I sang a lot with. I wasn't singing a lot out, but every now and then I would get asked to go and sing at like the Omaha Blues Society, like sit in with some people.
Cool.
And that was enough to keep me feeling like I had done. In the meantime, I was doing things like, in the tattoo business, we were sponsoring. We got into like underground no holds barred fights.
Wait, what? Wait, okay. So I know a little bit about the city,
and
but
so what we started doing.
what the? Okay, this isn't like betting on chickens or like or
No,
roosters.
This is
What
2
the
dudes
heck
beating
is
the
that?
crap out of each other in a bar. Basically, is what it is.
I heard
And
a
so-
laugh word. I'm like,
And so we would bring in a cage just like they would. Now this is at the UFC wasn't. It was just getting huge.
Okay.
And we actually knew guys who trained through the UFC.
Okay.
And so they would bring guys over who were just trying to get out, and we would literally put together shows at a bar in Omaha, Nebraska, and I would get up and announce, but I would turn the whole thing into like WWE. Now, their fighting was real, but everything else was like, I was just having a blast. I mean, so there was just...
You're like a microphone, yeah.
it was, ladies and gentlemen, all that crazy, right. It was crazy.
Crowd goes wild.
Yeah, literally. And so you have a bunch of drunk Nebraskians, a bunch of Cornhuskers, and they were just going absolutely nuts.
Oh, man.
So that would suffice with me getting the bug of performing, because I'm not just a singer. I like to perform. And so that helped. And then when I did 6 years of that in Nebraska, and announcing actually shows all through Iowa and all that stuff. And then I would sing here and there, but I was going and recording pretty regularly with some really good guys.
Who? Tell me.
They're all local. Honestly, I'd have to go and read their names again, but it's like we'd go and sit in a room and they'd be like, this is so-and-so. He teaches guitar for the Guitar Institute. And I was like, oh. And he would play and he'd be absolutely amazing. And he would play through a laptop. Excuse me. And we would get like a guy who would do the same thing with a keyboard. He's playing his laptop and it's like
and what are you all recording on back then?
For real, I mean, 60 channel, like he had the real deal. It was a real studio.
Wow.
Real jam space, real writings,
Nice.
orders, the whole 9 yards. So it was a real deal. It was called Desert Sun Records.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I mean, what he did with it on his side, I have no idea. But he had the money to back all of that. I mean, I know he spent like $60,000 just in.
So you don't have any copies of that stuff to look back and have fun to listen to?
It's really good quality stuff. I want to say the guy who actually engineered the album, his name was Tim Zick. I want to say he won a Grammy for the Wonder Years. He was one of the engineers for the Wonder Years. So I mean, it was
that's cool.
They were legit.
Serious.
Yeah, and the songs sounded pretty good. Now, they sounded good enough for putting out a record because these guys were playing. I was writing the songs, singing whatever they did. I always wanted to go back and re-record that stuff my way, but we'll get to that some other time. But my best friend who owned the tattoo shop wanted to start a shop down here because he just had a baby girl. And so he called me and said, hey, if you're not doing anything, we're going to do it again. We're going to come down to Florida and open up a tattoo shop. And I came down here, opened up a shop. 6 months later, my pops died.
Oh.
And so, tragically, within 8 days, he passed away.
Oh, man.
And so when I got back, a lot of things changed. I got out of the tattoo business because I was literally there.
You don't stop, right?
7 days a week, 12 hours a day.
Right. What is it about that? We have a friend. The guy has no life. It's like he lives there.
You chase the art, I mean, I look at it as, if you could get paid to sing all day.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Would you?
Yeah.
If you could have a business to where you got paid all day.
Well, yeah. I mean,
to sing.
But at some point when you've established yourself, shouldn't you be balancing out with other stuff too?
At some point you open up your own, if we're singing, at some point you open up your own studio, and then you have other people who you get paid to sing for you.
Right, but you're the one who's managing it and running and keeping it going. I
it's
hear
your
what
baby.
you're saying.
It's art. It really, it is.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He loves it. I mean, I know it's
absolutely.
Like it's. I'm trying to figure out who's more addicted: the artist who's making the tattoos or the people who come. Because it's like it's a mutual kind of thing. They're so into it.
The artist will tell you it's the other guy, but he's lying.
Yeah,
because you miss it when you're done. I mean, it'll drive you crazy, and it really is it's a crazy business.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Just like the motorcycle business is a crazy business, but and it's so that was pretty much me in a nutshell for a long time, which is motorcycles, tattoos, bar fighting. You know,
dude, you were like living the rock and roll kind of life. If you think about it.
Well, here's what's funny is that when I was young and I was in that Christian household and I loved my parents and they were great, all I wanted to be was like I'd see a guy driving down the road in a motorcycle and I'm like, that's gonna be me someday, right? In the back of the station wagon facing the rear.
Yep.
And so I saw the guys with the big big beards and I'd be like, that's gonna be me someday.
ZZ Top.
And lo and behold. So we'll flash forward to when I was in Indiana. I had a good friend of mine, and around the mid 90s I'd started working at the Harley mid 90s after the Marine Corps stuff. I started working at a Harley shop. Mm-hmm. And one of the buddies that I had, he was big into, one of the girls that I dated, she got me into the Grateful Dead, and I'm really not a Deadhead. You know what I mean? I mean, I dig it. I like what they do. She took me to the last 2 shows. It was cool. But around that same time, somebody gave me a copy of the Allman Brothers' Greatest Hits, a decade of hits from 1969 to 1979. And that I probably wore out maybe 8 copies of that.
Status World Blues. I mean, there's so many. I mean, in college, Eat a Peach, everything.
Eat a Peach, yeah. Well, the whole deal was with that
crazy.
Is that
so
I would sing in my car when nobody was around. So I knew that I started gravitating to some of the, like around them, it was like Black Crowes. When Black Crowes came out, I was like, oh man, I that it rang a bell.
Well, listen, it's blues. I mean, he's got a real blues. They've got a blues sound too.
Well, it's not just blues; it's soul.
Soul.
It's the
That's
soul
it.
element.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So when I heard that, and I started listening to like Greg Allman, and I didn't even know who Greg Allman was, or I didn't know who the Allman Brothers were. I mean, I knew the band. I had no idea how many people were in the band. I didn't know any of that stuff before YouTube, so you couldn't just go and pop on live at the Fillmore. So I started singing some of these songs, and I started, and they were just kind of like the background track, or like the, you know what I mean, the backing track to kind of my life around then. And I'd always kind of go back to it, but that spread out to like Jimi Hendrix. Now I didn't listen to rock and roll until like I went to Marine Corps. I didn't know who Led Zeppelin was till I was like 20.
Tell me about being in the Marine Corps. I want to hear it.
It's, you get up really early, you run a lot.
I mean, now
you shoot guns.
Aren't you guys
wear
like
green?
Now, aren't you guys together so much as a unit that, like, I mean, does it get claustrophobic for you? Did it?
No, it's like a job. I mean, they structure it like a job.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's infantry dudes that have it real bad because they have to go places and climb high things and walk really long and lift heavy or things than I do. I was like a maintenance guy, so I did like engineering stuff. And so it was just, it's like a job.
So your means to an end was, all right, I'll get out of here. What was your thought process? I'm going to get out of here, and when I'm done with this, I'm going to do what? What were you thinking, or were you not?
Nah, when I was done, I was done. And then I went around looking for work, and I had pretty much every job for 2 weeks that you could possibly have.
Like what?
I was a high-rise window cleaner, which I repelled off of like 20-story buildings.
Well, one could say that's sort of like traveling. I mean, like, you know.
Well,
you're going up and down, but it's something. You're doing something.
It's the adrenaline.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, living on the edge.
Right. And so
motorcycles, tattoos, going high up on that thing. You wouldn't catch me dead on that. I'll do other stuff crazy, but not with heights.
It wasn't one of those scaffold things. You're on a board, so you're actually rappelling.
Oh, you mean you don't even get the things under your feet? You mean you are? Oh, nice. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Great. What's the highest height that you ever?
35 stories.
Oh, not me. Never. Oh my God.
I got some funny stories about that too.
Oh my God. Do you ever see things like, I'm a voyeur. Like I would be a voyeur. I'd be like, oh my God, that dude is screwing his whatever on the desk. Did you ever get stuff like that?
I had women that would flirt with me.
Through the window? Like, what are you really going to do? You can't go through the window.
They'd be like writing notes and be like, meet me in the parking lot at 12.
Really? Did you ever take anyone up on that?
No.
Why not, dude? What, did you have a girlfriend? Were you married?
I'm a good boy.
Were you married?
No, you kidding me? I'm a good boy.
Wait, if you're not married and you didn't have like, okay, I get it. It's the guy code. If I was a guy right now, you'd be ribbing. Yeah.
No, I wouldn't.
No? No telling anything?
No.
Why? Why not?
There are times where we tell those stories, and there are times that we
bullshit. No. You tell it all the time. Yeah.
Those come out in podcasts.
Listen, the stuff me and the guys talk. When I'm around guys, it's just a certain thing.
I know.
You just talk.
Yeah.
And also, if you're the girl and you're hanging out and you're not doing the talk, then you're not this cool girl who's hanging out having fun. Plus, they want information from you about girls and stuff. It gets all.
If anybody knows me, they know. They know some of the stories. Stories come out every day.
See, there's your background. That's from how you were raised, right? That's coming out. Yeah.
You don't kiss and tell.
Yeah. No, and I respect that. I really do. I just don't know if guys do that in the locker rooms like that. I think that, it's different.
I don't do
different
that to
set
just
of rules.
anybody. I don't do that just anybody.
If it's your best buddy, you're going to.
My band members had to be in a band with quite a long time before and every now and then I'll just be like, blah, 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 blah. They'll be like.
Isn't it weird? Like when you have the band, right? And you're used to the three of you and you get a new person.
That happens with.
It's always weird. Well,
right? I digress. We're gonna get back to how I actually. Got
if you're around me, dude, I'm gonna get you talking.
No, it's great,
and you're gonna get me talking.
This is fantastic.
Okay, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
I actually am, and I've never actually been interviewed, so this is great.
That's how I. And by the way, that's how I felt coming here. I was like, oh my god! But look how we turned it around. Isn't that good?
That's great. Just remember, I'm going to start it in 2 weeks. The funny part is that there's a lot of folks out there who, well, I don't want to say a lot of folks because I don't know how far I actually reach. But my band's been around for a while, and I do have people that I know. But I have a lot of folks that don't know a lot about me. They know, I guess, what they hear.
Can I dig? Can I keep
crazy?
Can I keep digging?
Things.
Can I keep digging?
Well, in just a second, let me finish the Simon story.
So Go ahead.
I get to Florida, and when I got to Florida, I realized that if I was going to do the music thing, I wanted to do it live, and I wanted to actually be, like I'm not afraid anymore. I don't worry about what people think. A lot of folks in school had no idea I'd sing gospel music because it was very uncool to do so. So I didn't tell anybody. So it's like I didn't really go hang out a lot till like my senior year. I didn't really go to like the football games and stuff. And
well, that sucks. Well, why not? But why not just do it anyway? Oh, well,
church and things like that.
All right.
So like other things. And so like I just and my mom, bless her heart, she recognized, I guess, I had some talent, and she liked singing with me, so she wanted me to do that. Yeah.
Really?
So
that's great.
Yeah, she was the singer when she went to high school. Actually, there were two people. The story goes is there were two people, I guess, in her high school that had talent musically. It was her and a guy named, I want to say, Buzz. And when he graduated, he left and he became George Jones's guitar player, and he played with George Jones up until like up until like the last few years of his life. But
very cool.
But yeah, so I mean, so she, she comes from that. She came from Kentucky. I was born in Kentucky. So she got that Southern thing. So
how did you adjust from that, moving, you live in those areas, and then you come down here? Because I find that down here is very different. I've lived in different places.
This is the craziest place in the world.
No shit, man. I'm glad you're saying it. I mean, I don't
totally
want
is. It's crazy. It's like I'm a pretty outgoing dude. I can start up a conversation with anybody. But how I know, when I'm traveling, I usually drive. I drive instead of fly a lot. And so when louder? Sorry, I'm talking to. So
we hear it well.
Yeah, I'm fine. I can hear myself just fine. So when I travel, I drive a lot, and how I tell I'm in Florida is when I stop at a rest stop and get out, and they don't say hi. I'm still in Florida. And when I get out at a rest stop and they're like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I must be in Georgia." Yeah,
no, it's true. I think it's just such a mix, and like I call it Transientville. Like I went away for 8 years. You come back and you're like, "What the?" I mean, it's just so weird. So let's get into the music scene down here. So now you come down here, right? And you got the band, the Simon Band business going on.
Modern rock. Modern rock band.
Okay.
We did Shine Down and all
cool.
of that stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was my first, when people first heard me, that's the stuff that they heard me do.
Now, did you throw in Allman Brothers or no?
No,
that wouldn't fit in.
That wasn't the band.
Yeah.
So I came in with a pre-made set list and a pre-made.
Now, I'm going to go somewhere with this. Follow me.
Sure.
So on this journey, you do your gig, or you do gigs, right? You start going and doing gigs. What were the names of some of the places locally that you could tell us you played?
Premier, Billiards in Coral Springs, JD's Bar in Coral Springs, a place called, it's not there anymore, but it's called O'Meara's. We played there. One of my one of the first gigs. It was Mickey's when Dave Carter opened it. Mickey's Bar. Average Joe's in Jupiter. A place called Home Run that used to be in West Palm.
Now, how many gigs were you guys doing, like, in a month?
We're doing about 2 shows a week.
Oh, great.
Trying to do as many as we could.
And so how many sets was it back then?
3 sets.
Three,
sets, 3
not
1-hour
4.
Sets. Nope, 3 1-hour sets.
All right, because now you got 4.
Some places you do.
A lot of places.
Yeah.
It's gotten to be the thing.
Not daddy.
All right, but I'm saying it's gotten to be the thing.
I do 3.
For covers, man. Oh, okay. Well, okay, but let's talk about the timing of those 3. So how do you time your 3?
I do them on 3 1-hour sets. And I usually play a little over. So, and I'll do like half-hour break in between. Most of the clubs that I play, I've played a while. You know, there are different shows that I do different. Like if I play the casino, I'll do an hour and 20.
Now,
a time.
Tell me how you think the scene is different from back in just a few years back to now. Is it the same? Is it different to you?
It's different. There's ebb and flow with anything. For one, it's really hard to have the way the music scene is. This is all my opinion in my eyes. None of this is gospel. Okay,
come on, you don't have to be a good boy. Like
no.
No one's going to get offended.
No, it's not about that. It's
what is it about?
I just try to make sure that I clarify the things that I say, because I don't like getting misconstrued or hurting people's feelings. I want to make sure that I'm just clear. When I first started down here, there was definitely the shift was live music, modern rock and roll or dance, but it was kind of a deal. It was kind of a big deal. And then I kind of watched that taper off. And in watching that taper off, and that part of it, like the cover band stuff, taper off. And then there was kind of like more of a spike of people wanted to do their own thing, and it was kind of this indie music thing happening. And then I don't know what happened. It's like that still kind of exists, but it's weird. It's not as prominent anymore. Like people don't ask for it anymore. It certainly turned into this 80s tribute thing to where everybody had to do a tribute band, and that's what people wanted to hear. They wanted to hear one person's music, and they wanted to hear a whole catalog of it.
So how do you, Ken Hurley, go from doing the, modern rock that you were doing, and then how did you shift into doing the Allman Brothers tribute now?
I hooked up with different players, and the guys that I played with, they played a lot of the motorcycle crowd. So those guys run the gamut of types of music that they like. And so actually, when I was actually introduced to those guys, so the Simon guy that I was in, and if you want, like, no.
I just love that Simon, because I keep thinking you're going to say Simon Says. It's just
Simon. I thought was the dumbest fucking name I've ever heard of a band in my entire life.
But it's great because it's just so redundant.
And I told myself I wasn't going to cuss on the podcast. But so I kept asking him. I was like, "Who's Simon?" He was like, "Well, there were 2 guys originally in the band with the name Simon." And I'm like, "But none of those guys are in the band anymore." And he goes, "Yeah, but everybody knows who they are."
People are used to it.
Nobody knows who you are. Like nobody knows that band.
Simon Says, "I do."
There's like 2 people that come, and they're like friends of wives, right? So I was like, "That's ridiculous." I was like, "Make it make sense." Then they ended up actually what ended up happening is
Simon's dead.
He was pressuring me to play. The guitar player was pressuring me to do shows that I had a day job still. So I was doing 9 to 5 boat work at that time. I went and got a job working for a yacht manufacturer. So I'm like, 6 o'clock in the morning until 3:30 in the afternoon, and they're having me try to do shows at 2 in the morning in West Palm on a Sunday, and I'm like, no. And so he goes, "This is actually the moment that changed my life forever, and I want to thank him for that moment, because he said, well, if you think you can do it better, you should get your own band." And a light bulb went off, and I was on the phone, and I went, "You're right," and I hung up the phone. And don't you love it when someone puts you on the spot like that, and they think that they're going to get the response that they're going to get, but then
you know.
Yeah, and that's kind of, I don't know what was going through his head. I can only assume that that's what he thought was going to happen, and I no. And so I had just played Mickey's, and the guy that owned Mickey's at the time was a guy named Dave Carter. And so Dave hired the band, and I'm going to sound pompous, but I mean, for the way I was told the story is he hired the band because he liked my singing. And so he said, wait till you hear this guy. And so the next time the band was supposed to play there, which was the next week, I wasn't there. So I'm at home, and I'm like, I actually remembered, I'm like, oh, they got that gig at Mickey's tonight, you know? I was thinking, wonder who they got, wonder what's going to happen with that.
Did you go check it out?
No, I get a phone call. 15 minutes after the gig start, and he called me, and he was like, where were the blank, and like just went off of like, why aren't you here? What happened? And I said, look, I apologize, but I'm not in the band anymore. That guy, it's his band. You know, he's the guy that you got to talk to.
He doesn't tell anybody.
And he's like,
he's probably running all over saying, want to sing lead in my band? He's probably
I don't even know who
he was probably so busy doing that, trying to replace you.
I have no idea. I mean, and the thing is that I'm glad, I guess. I'm flattered that I made an impression. But
Tell me
I
about
didn't really
your-
think that I was doing that great.
Tell
at
me
the
about
time.
your
I was still
first
trying to get
night.
my voice.
First night, when you guys are all like, you rehearse, you get ready, and now you're going to go do this tribute band.
Well, the tribute band part?
How did that go? Like, how was that for you?
Well, man, that was actually really weird. So the tribute band there was a guy that used to live in town named Alex Mallet. Al Mallet is his name now. That's his stage name. And he used to live here, and he, I guess, would do jam nights at Cagney's Saloon.
Mm-hmm.
So he called me, and because somebody else had called me a few months prior to all this and said, hey, we were thinking about doing an Allman Brothers tribute project. Would you like to maybe come check it out? And so I did, and they really couldn't get things working. And but I recorded everything that we did, and we only did like 2 or 3 songs. So I went and would let Alex listen to it when we hook up, because he was like my Allman Brothers buddy, and he loved playing that style, and he has a real ear for that. And matter of fact, he's like my favorite as far as that type of guitar player. He's absolutely my favorite, next to Derek Trucks himself. But so I'd let him listen to it, and he'd kind of give me the side eye, and he'd be like, yeah, so okay. And so he calls me and says, hey, how would you like to do an Allman Brothers tribute show? And I was like, okay, like where? And he was like, in New Orleans. He's like, I got all the guys here,
Wow.
and we've been talking about it, and all these guys have their own bands,
Wow.
and they're all players. I mean, this is what they do. They play 7 nights a week.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, they want to get together and do some stuff. Are you in? And I said, yeah. And I think they were actually going to use a local guy, but that guy was on a tour, and he couldn't do anything. So they asked me if and I'm flattered very happy to do it. So I drove up there on a Thursday. We practiced on a Friday. We did the show on a Saturday.
Wow. Talk about jumping in.
That's kind of how I do things.
That's good, though. Yeah. That must have been a rush for you.
It was heaven.
So how was like yeah, so tell me about like how many people were there? How was it?
We had
Not
a
that
couple.
always
We had a
matters,
couple
but-
hundred people there.
Oh,
It
that's
was,
good for a
it was
start.
2
That's real
days
good.
before 2 days before New Year's Eve on Bourbon Street.
Oh, nice.
Right. So
What a fun time.
So trying to get, my whole thing was like, I don't know how many people are going to buy tickets for this when you got 2 days, in 2 days they're going to be hanging out doing New Year's Eve, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Although Bourbon Street, is always packed. When
Tell us
anything's going
about the scene there.
the scene there is what I wish the scene in every city would be. When I got there and we did practice, they'd had 4 songs that night where they had local singers sing songs, and the rest of the night I was the tribute guy. When I went into the room, apparently the room that they put me in to everybody to practice in was this legendary jam space off of a garage that had a wall where like Lenny Kravitz and all these people had signed the wall. And so like here was like, man, this is kind of cool to be here in New Orleans with all these. And every singer came in and gave me a hug and was like, man, we're so happy to have you here. They're all friends. They help each other get gigs.
Nice.
All these people in the bands, they're like, hey, man, I need a guy. Let me call so-and-so who also has gigs and does all that stuff. But they work in a network to where they keep everybody working, and they're friends with everybody, and they hang out with everybody.
That's cool.
And that is so missing in the South Florida
Why
scene.
is it like that down here? Like there are these little groups and little this and little that, and then they hire the same people, and it's like it's like clamping down on the scene and limiting it.
Stifling.
It stifles it to not create. I feel, having lived in Boston, New York, that those scenes welcome originality no matter when you're living there, as well as having one club have each night bring in four bands, and they do, like one night's rock and roll night. Mm-hmm. The next night can be, they could have a DJ if they want. And then, and each night brings something different. So you get different people to your place too.
Right.
So, but down here, New Orleans though is known for blues, jazz, everything. I mean, there's so many players. It's like
hardly hear blues. I hardly heard jazz.
Really?
I heard soul. I heard a lot of soul.
Mm-hmm.
I heard bluesish, blues, but I heard a lot of
any Zydeco?
No, man. I mean, the cool thing is that my contact there, Alex, he's in a lot of other bands and he fills in with a lot of bands. So when I got there on Thursday, he pretty much walked me around to the different clubs and was like, "Hey, I got a friend from Florida. Let him sit in and sing a song."
Cool.
And so I got to hear a lot of bands and the stuff that they were doing. So I got to hear a lot of, man, it's different. Like
when you say soul, tell me what you mean. I mean, I know what soul is.
Sam Cooke.
Oh yeah, that's soul.
Otis
yeah.
Redding.
Oh, the origin. Now they talk about originators. Yeah.
Well, see, that's the stuff I was kind of allowed to listen to because that was like non-threatening rock
clean enough
music. You know?
Yeah, I hear you.
So I did listen to like Loretta Lynn. I listened to Roy Clark. I listened to Johnny Cash. I listened to that side of it. But I also listened to The Temptations. I listened to Buddy Holly. Mm-hmm. I listened to. I love Sam Cooke. I just love how animated they could be. And so that's where I got a lot of. And here's what's crazy. So I went that route and learned that kind of stuff and was listening to that kind of thing. So that kind of defined, with that Southern thing, that kind of defined my sound of how I sang. Mm-hmm. I could sing other things. I could mimic other people. But when I was me, that's kind of how I would sound. And when I listened to the Allman Brothers and I heard Greg Allman singing, I was like, wow, that's me. I mean, and not that that's me. I mean, I don't know. No,
but it's like the timbre in your voice, you mean? Like it's sort of.
No, I was like, that's how I would sing that song. That gruff in my voice, I have that that soul in my voice.
The style of doing it.
The way he sang those blues songs, I was like, and honestly, and I mean, and I'm not, please, humbly, I am not trying to put myself in any of these categories of these fantastic musicians that I absolutely admire and worship. Worship's a bad thing because I don't worship people. People are people, but I love their talent. Like Chris Stapleton. I started listening to Chris Stapleton when he was doing bluegrass stuff with the Steel Drivers way before anybody had any idea who Chris Stapleton was. And all I wanted him to do was to make an album himself. And when he came out, everybody was like, "Oh, I discovered this guy, Chris Stapleton." And I'm like, you need to go back and listen to the Grammy Award-winning Steel Drivers.
In keeping with that, do you think the reason that these artists they originate a sound and they're creative in their sound is because it just sounds like they stepped out of their house and it's just like they would sing that way wherever they are? There's nothing synthetic about it. It's just like very organic coming from, we've been doing this style forever, and I live on the road, and I'm gonna just grab my guitar and write this song. Okay, here, Statusboro Blues, or it's just like this is coming from a person just telling you their story. What is it that makes people gravitate? Because I myself, man, in college, I couldn't stop listening to them. I love them.
I think it's the familiarity of that type of sound, because that sound. You can find that it's like blues. You can find blues at the root of almost any kind of music nowadays. You really can. Like the rock and roll, R&B, soul, all that stuff is kind of that's got that bass. And so when you hear something that's got a lot of that cut away, and that's what all you're hearing is that kind of root. Homey sound. Mm-hmm. I think there's something just inside you that I mean, because
it resonates with everybody.
That stuff, yeah. Because I have people that we talk about, like Chris Stapleton. I have people who You would never think. I mean, I have some people that I know that their main genre of music is hardcore rap. And if I say Chris Stapleton, they go, "Oh, Tennessee Whiskey." Because they know
That's awesome.
he has that soul,
Yeah.
and it comes through. And
Yep.
so he cuts it down so bare bones that I think it's just undeniable. I think it's just, it touches a chord. And I don't care who you are. I really don't. There's a billion artists out there, and when they cut a lot of that away and you strip down, some of your favorite stuff is that type of
From
stuff.
that, yeah.
And I think Greg Allman and the Allman Brothers, they kind of always had that at the root of everything they did, and that's kind of the
now what? Tell
warm,
me.
comfy feeling.
So, what are your like top songs that you do from the Allman Brothers? I know you're probably going to say, "I
That I
love
sing?
everything." Yeah.
I think everybody would tell you that "Whipping Post" is probably the song.
No, but what do you enjoy?
Well, that's what
doing?
I'm saying. I think and I do love that song, and I've done that song a billion ways with a billion different people, and I absolutely love it every time I do it because of, and now there's more reasons that I like doing it now than I did when I started doing it.
Tell me why.
Well, at first when I started doing it, it was the Allman Brothers song that anybody knew, and so it was a song that, and it has power and it has emotion, and I like songs with dynamic. So it has that, it starts out, I've been run down,
Yeah,
and then
that's
really,
great.
then you get all like crazy.
Oh my god! And what about the way what he's playing the organ pad?
Yeah,
Oh.
it's just and that's, I think every band,
And
any
the
band
guitar
that does
riff,
any kind of soul needs to have an organ.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I like the dynamics of that. That was really cool. That was that's a song that I can totally get lost in. I close my eyes and just sing it, and totally and I do that a lot. I'll be at random bar name, and you'll get a song that I love, and I'm up there, and I have no idea that I'm even there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. Nobody in the crowd matters, and funny thing is I'll even take that a step further, and that's how that's my way of still getting my soul out without having to do original music that is my voice. Do you understand that? Some people.
So, in other words, you spill out the feeling through these artists and what they write. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, and that's kind of hard. Okay, so you got a lot of bands that they're entertaining bands, and they do a fantastic job, and they play other people's music, and people love the way they do it. But you talk to a lot of them, and some of those people tell you it's kind of cold to them because they're just regurgitating somebody else's. How many times can you do Mustang Sally and really feel it, right? So I don't do songs like that. I have fodder, and I'll have low-hanging fruit songs that you want to hear if you come out and hear a show, and I try to give you the best of those songs that I can. But I also pepper that with songs that I can sink my teeth into that make it going and getting paid for singing is not the payoff. The hard work is getting the show, booking the show, getting the gear, setting the gear up, traveling wherever you're traveling, doing all that stuff, wrangling all the cats for all the band members and making sure they're on time and do all the things they do, dealing with the bar owners and trying to make sure that everything's cool, and the bartenders and making sure they're happy. All of that is work. My payoff is getting up and actually singing the song. So to make me not go insane, I can't do, there's certain songs that I just won't do that I know that I'd probably maybe a little bit more popular if I would do some other stuff, but I have to sink my teeth into something, and if I'm not doing original music, that's a great payoff. I mean, you hear a lot of people, and I get that, and people are like, "Oh, you're a cover guy," and I give you that, and you're like, "That's cool." But I get it. You know what I mean? But I don't think there's any shame in anybody going out and making music for a living.
There's a reason people. And when we talk about the Allman Brothers, I mean, who's left? How many are left?
There's the people that they lost. They lost. Vicky Betts is still around. The bass player that they've had since the early '90s is still around. Warren Haynes is still around. Derek Trucks is still around. He's been with them since the early '90s. As far as original band members,
that's what I mean. Like,
there are one.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's Jamo, and he's one of the drummers.
Have you ever met any of the Allman Brothers?
Yes.
Tell me about it.
I met Warren Haynes.
How was that?
Well, I was pretty high.
I thought you were going to say he was a mess. I thought you were going to say he's a mess, and I'll tell you why. Because I've gone through that where I meet my idol, and of course they're like wasted and can't talk to me.
And I want to say he was probably pretty high too. We had some buddies that I was hanging out with in Nebraska had got me tickets to the government meal show, and so we went and parked, and we were having a goofy fun time, and we were out back smoking a fairly large joint. And we realized we were standing right in front of their tour bus, and the door opened. He's standing there with his guitar, kind of looking at us.
What the hell are you doing here?
And we were just sitting there like. And so, I've met through the tattoo business.
So what'd you say?
I've met a lot of people, and I don't get starstruck. Then
okay, go ahead.
I wasn't starstruck, but I had no idea what to say or what to do. I was just kind of like standing there like.
Should just pass him the joint.
Warren Haynes. That's what I wish I would have done.
You never think of that till later, right?
No, I wish
like,
I would have.
Dude, we're so wasted here.
Yeah, it was funny. I wish
Oh man!
But no, he was nice. He was like, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, "Can't wait to hear you," or something stupid like that. And he was like, kind of like walked in the back door. I was like,
that's awesome.
And then you do the stupid thing. You turn around to your friends and you're like, "Hey, it was Warren Haynes." Like they didn't know it was Warren Haynes.
Right.
Like, I was standing here.
Yeah, like I don't need the title of it. Right. I just thought, the ticker. So now, how many shows are you playing doing the tribute band now?
We've done one show.
Okay.
That's
what do you mean?
Pretty much it.
What do you mean?
We did the one show in New Orleans, and now these guys all play in New Orleans. So they play,
is that why?
All the time. Well, here's the deal: so we've been talking. Being a musician, you got to play when you can play.
Mm-hmm.
So right now they've got Mardi Gras and all that going on. It's like the busiest time of the year in New Orleans. Yep. So as soon as that's dying down, we are trying to get them here. So I'm trying to do like a little 5-day run. So, and that goes for everybody out there. If you want an Allman Brothers tribute band with the original number of players who play it, and we concentrate on the first years of the Allman Brothers. I have a theory about that. Mm-hmm. When Dwayne Allman was in the band, so you have the Dwayne Allman and Greg Allman. When they started the band, Dwayne started putting everybody together first. Greg was still in L.A. writing songs, and he's like 18, 19 years old. So he was doing like the Allman Joys and a few other projects and writing for, I think, a studio or something. He came back. Dwayne showed him people that he got together. He played a song called Dreams. Just one more morning.
Yeah, right? One of my favorite, because I got dreams.
Yeah, so they all decided that hearing that song, they all decided that they wanted to do it, so they started the Allman Brothers Band. From that point on, they were, till Dwayne died, I felt like they were a rock band. Mm-hmm. And they were like guitar-driven rock music. Yeah. When Dwayne died, then the band went to Greg, and Greg is a singer-songwriter, piano player. Mm-hmm. And I felt like the music took a shift. And they still had rock songs because they still had Dickie Betts playing guitar and everything, but I just felt like things
had such choice. He's had such choice, those riffs, the things he comes up with.
Amazing.
And actually, when you say that's one of your favorite songs to sing, Whippin' Post, I just, the way he plays that. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like, it's the song. I mean, it's the whole tune, but that riff just keeps going.
The bass line, apparently the bass player is the guy that came up with the structure of that song. So it's like kind of like that like 7/8 time or whatever.
Yeah, it's great.
But yeah, it's definitely undeniable. And so that's definitely one of the songs I like to sing the most. But my favorite song I like to sing is actually a song called Come and Go Blues. But I like to do it the way Greg did an acoustic version of that song, mm-hmm. which he would, when he was doing press for that album, he would go around and he'd just do acoustic version of that song. So when I did the band is called Freedom of Peach. So it was after the Eat a Peach and all that. So in the middle, like the intermission, we came out and we did 3 songs. We did a song that was an acoustic instrumental mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Called Little Martha that Dwayne Allman did. So we had one of the guitar players do that. Then I came out and did Come and Go Blues with Alex Millay. And then we did Sweet Melissa with 2 guitars with the crowd.
That song, oh, it gets me.
That's
every time.
where I'm at that's where I'm at home. When you give me a pretty song,
That song.
and that's where I like to shine.
That
That's where I
song,
try to shine.
The melody, it's like,
That's probably one of the prettiest songs ever written.
It's
And it's really
gorgeous.
funny is when you hear the song. The song's about a guy who basically lost the love of his life, and now he just kind of wanders the world until he dies, thinking of her. And so he actually told the story about when he wrote the song.
was it for his dog or something?
No, he couldn't find a name to go in the, and he was like, he was like, what name goes? He's like, you need a name that fits the cadence of the thing. He was like, Sweet Beatrice. And he's like, nah, I couldn't figure it out. And he said, so I went to a store, like he was writing at like 3 a.m. He goes, I go to the store to get a pack of smokes. And I walk in and he said, and there was this little Hispanic lady who was yelling at her daughter, Melissa! And she was
Really?
running all over the store.
Oh, I
just causing all
love
kinds of
stories
hell.
like that.
And so he goes,
That's great.
And so that became Sweet Melissa.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. Is just like divine or something intervention, whatever it is. It's like, I don't know, the songwriter's spiritual element of whatever it is. It works. I love that.
But that's the crazy part about
Beautiful.
all of that is that I had to, in doing the Allman Brothers thing is where my heart is. My bread and butter is Shovelhead, and we've been, like I said, we've been around for.
Tell me about Shovelhead.
Well, Dave Carter, when after all that happened with Mickey's, he called me and said, I got some guys. If you're not in a band, I got some guys that they just broke up in their band, and they want you might want to meet them. So I met AJ Lynn and Larry Morris, and they were in a band called Dr. Strong, and they had done a lot of stuff around town. They played the Toy Run and all that,
Nice.
the bigger shows that you can play locally. So I met them. And then I called the old bass player that I was playing with in the last band, and we kind of joined Shovelhead. And so our first few shows were just Mickey's exclusive, and that's how we practiced there. We played there.
Nice.
So we became known there. And then Dave Carter got into a motorcycle accident, and then he went into a coma. And so then I felt I'm a loyal dude. As far as that goes, as far as if you treat me well and you take care of me, I take care of you. So the bar fell on his wife's shoulders. And so we tried the best that we could do.
I remember. I think I remember.
We tried the best that we could do, but playing for her.
Right.
And then when he passed away and she let the bar go, we got picked up by a lady named Sherry Palmer. That owned Chit Chat's bar.
Oh, Chit Chats.
And so I played Chit Chats every other Wednesday, or sometimes every Wednesday for 2 or 3 years, at least 3-4 years, and until she passed away.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right.
that
So
was a tragedy.
So now what projects are you working on?
Still doing Shovelhead. We're out going. It's crazy is that when you talk about this getting used to new players, I've had so many different players just because it's people are transient and people want to be in other bands and then people quit.
I find down here, I always say, is it the sun in their eyes? Like when they're driving around, it's because you don't have to worry about
Maybe the
seasons. I don't know, man. It's just like this. Oh yeah, okay. Like I don't know because when I was up north, New York, Boston, it's not like that. It's like you show up. And because that there are like 50 more players that'll do it. But down here, it's like, oh yeah, I'm the bass player for like 7 bands. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like there's like a shortage there's a shortage of clubs and there's a shortage of musicians in a weird way. And I'm not to slight.
No, you're right.
I'm just saying it's not as big city as we think.
I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but like half of the stuff that a lot of these bands pull down here, from what I've seen or just musicians they pull down here, like if you went and tried to do that same working in New Orleans,
no, I know. Hey, listen, I
wouldn't fly.
No, I know that I didn't. When I had a guy in Boston, and I didn't expect it because he was a very good guitar player, but I had to work. So I'm sorry. I was an hour. He was an hour and a half late to a gig, and I was like, "That's great." It was the last gig he did with me.
That happened to me.
I mean, and I didn't mean to be mean. I was
really
nice,
recently.
but I was cool. I'll tell you what I did for him. I was cool with him still. I go, look, no hard feelings. It doesn't work for me. Okay, it doesn't work for me because I wouldn't do that. But
That's
because all you had
pretty
to
much
do,
the exact words out of my mouth. I was
yeah,
like, look,
I go. All
said,
you had to
"You're
do
a-"
was call. All you had to do,
was like,
right? Just
yep.
call, find a way, man. And then but the deal with that guy is, I was cool with him. I let him open for us when we had a gig.
Mm-hmm.
If we were doing all originals. Then I found out he was in another project, and he was asking me, and I go, man, no hard feelings. All right, sure. You want to open? He opened up. It was fine. It was cool. I wasn't, I had already replaced him. It was fine.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have done that if I hadn't replaced.
Gotcha.
No, man.
No, I actually had that happen here recently, and I tried to, I used to get really, really mad and really angry when things wouldn't go right. Marine Corps, I try to fix everything, and so I try to be a little bit more understanding and realize that I can't do anything about some things are just out of my control.
Mm-hmm.
And I go back to advice that I got a long time ago. It's not the transitions in life, it's how you handle those transitions that make you who you are. So I try not to get defined by bad things. I try to look for solutions. So when things go bad, I try to fix it. I try to look for the positive in that, about how to get things done, instead of like going, man,
yeah,
I can't believe that happened. Because that never fixes anything. And then you're in a bad mood, and then it makes doing the thing you need to do harder.
But don't you like I feel like some people like those stories. They like to just harp on them.
Of course they do.
I'm not that person.
Because most people don't have shit to do with their lives.
Yeah. Well,
and so then they look at any drama that they get, that's what they hang on to, and that's all they have.
I'm always the one who's like, no, man, stay away from it. It's drama.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you.
I think when you come from drama, like stuff around you, you have a very low tolerance as you go along for that, because you know that you can choose. You get to choose band members.
Mm-hmm.
You get to choose bands you want to be in, bands you want to sing for. And on that note,
If you're lucky.
Well, if you're good, if you've worked on it, and if you work on it, I think the work is important. I think
the work is everything.
Right, but I think it is everything. I think though there are a choice group of people out there who they don't have to do that much work, and then they just do it because they have it. But that wears away. Yeah, sometimes that wears away.
Sometimes
it doesn't wear away, but you have done the work. In other words, you were telling me
I've done the work before. So now
Right.
I find like if I told you how many times that I got away on just seeing if I could get away. You know what I mean? And that's bad. But
I don't know. I'm a planner. I got to have everything all set. Listen,
I do to a point.
I do. I have to have like little. I got to have it all ready.
I do to a point. I do preparation.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm pretty organic with that. Like I like to.
Well, that's
I
before.
like
Isn't
to
that part of
think
the
on my feet.
But that's
I
part
like
of the. Well, you like to live on. Look, you're the guy who was cleaning the windows, and I wouldn't have been doing washing.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to be on the edge. I don't mind that. Like I think you jump off anyway, don't you? I mean, I used to do stand up. You jump off. You jump off the cliff. You when you're performing, you jump off.
I used to do stand up. I did
Cool.
stand up to teach me how. Okay. Preface that.
Tell me. I love
didn't
it. Someone
really
else who's
do
done
stand-up.
stand-up.
I didn't do stand up like somebody really does stand up. I did stand up for one as a bet. I come from when I was in school towards the last couple of years of my life. Steve, are you still there?
Yes, I'm still here.
Steve
You're
is
so
like,
patient.
I just hear him
This
like
is
laughing.
actually how I met Steve.
Like I don't
Steve
even
is
know.
actually-
He's like a guy in the sky. Where are you? I don't even know what you look.
Steve is actually a director, and he wrote a one-act play. And I told about this story before, but this is actually how I met Steve in high school.
Steve, I feel like I already know you just by your laugh.
Yes, that's how you know Steve.
Yeah, like I wish you could just come with me through my life, when shit happens, and
So-
it's like you'll be the guy who makes it all right.
He wrote a one-act play.
I would be a great laugh track for anyone.
I need
any
it.
Show, anything.
Okay,
Where's
can I
my
bring you
laptop?
for family events?
Oh,
There
wait,
you go.
where's
Oh my God, where's this been?
Oh wait,
Oh, I love it.
Steve.
That's what I need.
Silence. So anyway,
That's on in my brain anyway with certain family members. That's what's going on. I'm just
So
like
what's-
laughing inside.
so it's funny for those of you who can't hear at home. I have a laugh track on, but so Steve wrote a one-act play, a comedy, and that's how I got to meet Steve, because I was sneaking out of the house and doing some of that stuff.
Wait, sneaking out of your house?
Well, I was pretending. I told them that I was doing wrestling.
Who are them? Oh, your
My
family.
parents. And then
Okay.
I would go and hang out with these guys, these crazy lowlifes, and do drama.
Cool.
And we would do, and so Steve wrote and directed this play, and that's I got into comedy that way, because I always loved to laugh, and my mother gave me kind of like a good sense of humor, and so around that time, the story goes, and Steve told the story that a friend of ours was like, hey, there's a open mic night, and we're going to do some stand-up. And it's like, where do you want to go? And I was like, yeah, I'll go. And they're like, yeah, we're all going to get up and do it.
But you did it cold, and you didn't have anything planned?
No, I wrote out like 2 really the worst jokes you ever heard in your entire life.
All right.
And so I got up, and so you're going to go first. And so I was like, okay. And so, Steve, you do this more justice than I do. You finished the...
Yeah, the remarkable thing about it, I wasn't there, but our friend Jill talks about it all the time because it was really a remarkable thing. Ken started doing his prepared material, and it bombed. And then
that's how you learn, too.
Started talking to the audience.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But then he just started talking to the audience. He just threw the material away. He saw that it wasn't going to work. He started talking to the audience, and he had such rapport with them. And off the cuff, he was able to make them laugh really hard. So it was really impressive to hear about that, because I know how funny he is from working with him on the play. That's his secret talent. He doesn't get to exercise it very much.
I wish I had known you guys when you did this, because I would have been like, Steve, what you need to do is you got to get up and you got to do those where you're cleaning the windows and you got a belt on you, and you start doing your comedy like that. Like you just pull yourself up to the next level, and you're like, oh, here's this chick. She wants.
So you didn't hear that at home. So basically, what happened is that there was an open mic night, and so friends of mine were telling me that I need to go. So I wrote these really horrible jokes, and I went up to this.
Will you
open
tell
mic
one
night.
of the jokes?
I don't even know if I really.
You don't. I bet you do remember. You don't remember when you bombed? Everybody remembers the one time they bombed.
All right, so I had this, and this is how bad it was. But
No,
just to tell you, before I tell you the horrible joke, so I got up and I tell the joke, and the jokes were so bad, everybody would just kind of go.
Oh yeah.
And so I would use that opportunity with the awkwardness, and I would make another joke. Just come off the top. I'd like point somebody in the crowd and talk to him and make some like, I can't believe you're actually still sitting through this. This is pretty bad, or some, a joke like that. And I was making people laugh, and I'm like, you guys are really tolerant. This is crazy, right? And so I made whatever jokes that made people laugh. And so I ended up having a great set off of jokes that were just the worst jokes in the entire world. Knowing what I know now is there's preparation, there's timing. You count time between jokes, and so you can know how to come in. I mean, I always had a pretty good natural timing or whatever, but there are rules to this shit. You know what I mean? There's people that work their whole lives to put down these routines, and I'm thinking, I got it. And so, I get up and do it. And when I went back and sat at the table, my friend just looked at me like. And
he's like,
I was like, well, that pretty much would. Well, and they were like, are you kidding me? I was like, I can't believe that you would get up there. And I was like, are you getting up there? Like, no, we had no plans of ever getting up and doing that. That we were just getting you up and doing it.
It's crazy.
So one of the jokes was, I like to be. I don't know. I can't tell you the whole joke because I don't.
Is it
really
dirty?
Know. No.
Oh, then I don't want to hear it then.
Material. But it was about being thrifty and about how an extra large shirt costs the same amount as a small shirt. And so if you really want to be thrifty, you would go out and buy an extra large shirt just because you're actually saving money that way because you get more material for the same amount of money. And I said, and so, yeah, I'm walking around in 4 XXXs and I wear a size medium, but I'm saving money. And so I take a joke, and so people were just kind of like.
One guy, wouldn't it be great if at that moment one guy yells out, I paid for this, I want my money back.
The good thing is I think it was free. I think it was a free open mic night.
All right, that's cool.
But no, so I always loved comedy, and now, and that's what it's really, and we used to do improv.
Listen, I give anyone credit who just gets up and does it. I had just happened into it. We'll get to whatever, I don't want to talk about my whole thing, but one day I will tell you all the crazy stories. And I'm
interviewing you in 2 weeks.
Oh my God. Some of the stories I'm going to tell you are backstage before you go on. Yeah. When people don't know that you do comedy, they don't know you very well. Yeah. You get sized up. It's hilarious.
Oh, I know. I get that. I get that singing. I can tell you some really funny stories about some of the people who met me.
Tell me. Go. I want to hear it. I love these stories.
I get up, I'm singing one night, and I have bronchitis. Bronchitis, strep throat, to where I'm barely singing, but why did you go? Wait, you were doing a gig like that? Daddy needs the money. So wait, this is what I do for.
So you're gonna get everybody's getting stripped?
No, and I isolate myself and alcohol and the whole 9 yards. Make sure I'm good. And so I got up and did the show. And when I got done, I met one of these singers, and he goes, you're pretty good. And I said, thanks. And he was like, if you, I actually do vocal coaching. If you ever want to teach you anything, just
Oh
go
my
ahead.
God, he said that to you?
And I was like, well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Well, you handled it well.
And he was like, yeah, so, and so like, cool. So flash forward to like a month and a half later, I'm healed up. He comes to see me again, and I know he's in the crowd now. And now I'm going to give him everything that I have. Healed Ken. He walks up and shakes my hand. And he was like, I'm sorry. I feel so stupid. And I'm like, no, man, I really appreciate that. You were trying to do something cool, man. That's
Yeah,
cool.
he was. His intentions were good.
Yeah.
Or maybe he
It was
just
just
does.
funny.
Maybe he's the guy who just does that. Maybe he goes around and does that.
Maybe he's the guy. Maybe he's the
Yeah.
vocal coach guy.
He's that guy. That's how he's gotten his business.
I've met all kinds. If I had $1 for every person that came up to me and said, I know a guy that, all you have to do is hear you one time, you've made it.
Don't you love that?
Totally made it.
I had that happen. The guy would invite me to go to a bunch of things. And if you're hearing this, I'm sorry. You're a great guy. I'm not going to say your name. And I know you mean well. And I know it's just your fun. But he was going to get me every gig and let's meet up and let's this is it. And I was like,
I've had a lot of that.
And then I went. I went with my friend, though, you see. I brought my wingman buddy
There you go.
from my band. And we had a great time because we just crack each other up, So, but that guy, it turns out he just liked to promise me and this other singer in town a lot. And then one day she and I were chatting and we're good friends. She's out on the town. She's one of the singers in town. And she goes like, he hasn't got me anything. He just keeps promising. I go, look, he's a good guy, but he's the guy who loves rock and roll singers, female rock and roll singers, even though he's married, and he likes to hang out and buy you drinks. Yep. Even though his wife's right there, it's like he didn't try anything.
Sure.
But he's just the guy who maybe back in the day was hanging out with everybody and he wants to do it again. And I get it, man. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's a little weird though to be promised. Like I always wanted to just put my one hand on his shoulder and go, dude, you're a nice guy. You don't need to promise. I'm here to hang out. Like you don't need to promise me that you're going to.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I didn't even ask him, right? Isn't that weird?
And that's the thing, is I try to tell people that too, is like, look, you don't need to go. I mean, we don't need to go there. I mean, you don't have to have something that I need for me to want to be cool with you.
Right.
Like, it's cool, man. But I have people that hey, I got a guy. And I'm like, look, we just.
Do you think that those people just want to feel like they're a part of the whole thing? Like,
let
me be on your team.
I think people want to
be...
feel important. People want to feel like
I understand
you know what I mean? Especially if they go out and they admire what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They want to be cool too.
I mean,
I also ride a motorcycle. I've had people tell me, I got a bike, and you're like, that's okay. That's really random and out of nowhere. Like, that's cool.
But they want to be part of you. It's like
they
want to be part of your group.
That's cool.
Unless you're me going to, my kid's school and then they know I sing and then I get treated horribly. I get, oh, you feed your kids that.
Oh, wow, really?
And they go to my gig, and one of them got really drunk, and she's hanging all over me, and she whispers in my ear, she's like, you're so hot. And from then on, anytime she saw me, she's like all nervous, like a guy who likes you or something. It's really weird.
We should have conversations about that.
Man, you and I have so much.
Awkward shit
PTA,
said to you.
but PTA women, they do scare me. When I'm walking out the door and I have to go to a PTA thing, I have nothing against PTA mom. You guys make the school, you make the money for the school, but you scare the heck out of us, people who are doing other things.
But again, it's like
because we can't I'm working all day. Like
sure.
I pick my kids up by 2, but man, I can't like go spend all day at the school. And some of these,
those are
they
people
expect
that
you to.
They need that.
But
that's all they have in their
life. But they're
life.
fulfilling. But I have this last year. I was pissed off all year because they were driving me crazy with their caddy stuff. This year, I figured something out. One of my friends goes, "Listen, who's doing the stuff that you can't get to?" I'm like, oh, "You're a genius. You know what? You're right. Like they're showing up when I can't. They're the ones bringing the cupcakes and all the stuff that I don't have time to do. So I'm nice to them now, even though I got their number.
Otherwise, they're the ones giving a shit.
Yeah,
I don't have time for to give a shit.
They're spending the money. One of them, they had like a whole book list. Please donate. She bought all the books. That's when I get mad. Yeah, but I got mad. I'm like, okay, you're wealthy. I'm happy for you, but like, let us, you got all the books. Now we don't know what to get, and if we ask, it's like we got it already. It's kind of a weird.
I know it's weird.
It's a weird feeling to just be like, but it's. I think it's weird to perform. I think people don't understand that when you perform, you're putting yourself out there.
See,
do you feel that way a little bit? I mean, it's beautiful. We're blessed to have it. I'm not saying you're blessed to have it, but I think it's not always easy. Like you have your days, you have your, it's still work. I mean, it's great, but it's still work.
It is work. And man, it's so, I go, I was just having this conversation the other day about like how I really feel about music and how I really am. And I don't know if I don't talk to other musicians about this, how deep that goes. So I don't know if it's just normal for me or what, but like I'm if you're friends with me on Facebook, I apologize if you see probably 1 billion times that I go live and just do songs like from my living room or whatever, and I'm not doing that for any thing other than I have people who ask me to go live. So I like to do that. I like to give people who live in New York and can't see me, or people live in Indiana.
I love it.
So, and I love to do that too. The ego part of that, and anybody who tells you that you're not in a band to feed some part of your ego, and I think there is, even the most humblest people in the entire world, they know that that's what they have to do to be whole, is they need to get that music out to the world, and the energy they get back is the reward, and that's and a little bit of ego in that, and there's all kinds of other stuff. I do that to a point. I care only if I know you care. Isn't that weird? Like if somebody
it's not.
If somebody likes my song,
it's not weird.
I go and look at the people who put little hearts on it, because I know that person took a little extra time to go do that.
It's not weird.
That hits me in a place.
The artist needs that exchange. It's a conversation. It's like me coming into a room and you go, "Hey, Abby," and I don't answer you.
Right.
You need to have that exchange.
And for anybody out there in Facebook land or wherever you're watching this, and if you want to know what it's like to be in a band and to put yourself out there on a regular basis in front of people, and it goes a lot with acting too, and it goes a lot with comedy, and it goes a lot with anything where you put yourself out there and it's just you and the other person on the side of that. There's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of times where you're never going to get anything back. That no matter what you do, is that you're going to be staring at the back of somebody's head, and they're going to be talking to their buddy by drinking a beer, and they're not going to listen to anything you say.
But I want to share.
But you go to New Orleans,
everybody's in it.
Everybody's like this.
And I'm going to tell you, Boston too.
It's fantastic.
Boston, it was such a shock.
I should say that if you're playing in South Florida, there's a lot of that. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so it is a different audience, people. Forgive us, but it is a really, sorry, it just is. Okay, so the New York audience is, you're here. We hear a lot of bands in the night, but, we're going to pay attention. We'll listen. Sometimes we'll look at our phone. Mm-hmm. Boston, the audience is, they don't have their phone. They're mouthing the lyrics to what you're doing, whether it's yours or other songs. You come down here, there's going to be a lot of phone stuff. But the beauty is when it's on and it's a packed house and it's a great night, those phones are going to be high in the air. It's going to be
recording
great.
You and doing all that stuff. And that's cool too.
So that's fun. So like the very reason you don't like the phone sometimes when there's distraction and it's not a good night.
I don't care.
You love it.
I don't even judge. I think
it's just people. It's the way we are now.
People do have an attention span problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all this Facebook and all the stuff it's easy to just keep doing that and you scroll.
I want to share what you're talking about. I want to share because I probably won't get to next time. Nita Strauss said that when she first was, if you don't know who she is, she's Alice Cooper's guitar player, and I had the honor of interviewing her. She's cool. But she said that when they started out, when they were going in their car and they're like 16 and they got the Vans tour, which is like unheard of.
Right.
So here they are, and they were a tribute band. And what was the name of that, Craig? Can you tell me the name? Okay, but it was I'm sorry, it's been a long day, but tribute band, a rock tribute, a metal tribute band, okay? So she said that their goal every night was to play to, and I'm putting my arms, if there are that many people between here and here, that means if there are 10, it's great. Mm-hmm. And that was their attitude. And they went from town to town, place to place, dragging everywhere till they got to the Vans tour. They hardly had food, and they did the whole routine. And then it just grew from there because they felt like, I'm going to play. They said, we are playing to the people between here. I don't care if it's 2. I don't care if it's... And
I've got some really good advice from some of the bigger dudes that I know that play. What they tell me is they sing to the first row or sing to the first 2 rows. Mm-hmm. Like whoever the first people in there, do that. Mm-hmm. I mean, try to keep everybody involved, but make a connection. even if it's a small connection,
Yeah.
because that connection they'll people feel that connection. Because I honestly feel like everything's energy. I feel like everything's energy. I feel that when you go into a place and you know somebody's negative, they're draining that energy from you, and that's that negative feeling. If you, on the other side of that, if you're doing a show and that positive energy is coming out and you make a connection with somebody, that's infectious. Next thing you know, everybody's into it. You are so jazzed, you and the band. I could tell you there was we were playing this one particular club, and there's like 5 people there, and they're all at the bar, and we're playing to like an empty room, pretty much. 3rd song, the door opens, and one of the motorcycle clubs in town, 2 of the members were getting married. So they all decided that they were going to go there because they heard Shovelhead was playing, and they all showed up. So now we go from 5 people within a matter of 30 seconds to 45 people in the room. And the energy just went absolutely through the roof. And we played amazing, and we sounded great.
But tell me about, I want to know what Shovelhead plays.
I literally do a little everything. And it's funny is that as we found our feet, and as I found my voice, because I'm screaming and hollering when I first got into Simon, because we're doing modern rock stuff, and our gear wasn't the best. We did absolutely the best with what we had. When I started getting out to because my brother's a sound guy in Indiana. He works for a giant, like a tabernacle that does like the live broadcast and everything. So he does sound for them. So I called him. Picked his brain about how to get good sound. Was able to go get my own gear to where I could actually work my monitors well and get a good sound for everything. I started being able to hear myself, so I started working on my tone. We started gaining popularity as we did that. They started putting us in different rooms, and that's what dictated what we did, depending on where we were, depending on what we played. You could put me in one club, and it'd be a rock bar, and you'd have one show. You put me in another place, and I would do an acoustic all-rock show, totally different show. Because that vibe was
That's
different.
great.
So
that's terrific.
And that's what I want to say. That's what everybody would aspire to do. I mean, that's what I was blessed.
I think bands are starting to think more like that. Even people who have made it. We have Kevin Martin going back now and he does tours again. He's from Candlebox. Back when the grunge scene was big and he was a kid and he was here comes this kid,
Chris Cornell.
Yes.
Chris
He
Cornell,
was friends with it's a whole thing, but if you read it on True Rock, whatever. But the point is his whole thing was, I've done all that. I made it big on that song, my hit songs, and now I'm gutting out years later. And I'm making new albums, but I also know that I have to go back to the acoustic.
Sure.
So he'll do big rooms, but he'll also go and start off and do his roots, do small, doing with his guitar and 2 other guys, one guy on bass, another guy on another guitar, on rhythm guitar or whatever it is, and the trio, and it sounds great.
There's a lot of that. Shinedown did that.
People are doing it.
Shinedown this was a few years ago, and they were one of the first people to actually do it. I mean, not really the first people to do it. It's the first people to go back and do that again.
It's a trend. It's kind of the thing now. But
Elvis Presley, the '69 comeback tour, first person to ever really, really do it. If everybody remembers, before that, he's in the 50s. Yeah. He's doing all this stuff. He did the Army. He gets back. He wants to come back. He had his guitar
in all the movie. He was doing
1969. He did a thing in the round where he comes out with his leather suit, and he had everybody with just acoustic guitars, and they were doing like just little flat top brushes, and he did all his songs that you knew in a totally stripped down way.
I met someone.
One of the first guys ever.
I met somebody who was the last 3 dancers on Viva Las Vegas. They're in the end of Viva Las Vegas. You just see these pretty dancers, 3 of them. Okay.
I'd like to see the go set my soul.
And so don't get me started. So anyway, so at the end of that,
I don't think it would take much.
No, it would probably not. Right. So the woman, I'm sitting there at this, because you say energy, I'm sitting there at this acupuncture clinic where I love the guy. He's amazing. He's just so energy. He's like a healer. So I'm sitting there, and there's this beautiful older lady, and on the radio comes Elvis. So I just comment, I go, God, he was just, I'm sorry, but that would have been someone I would have had a poster on the wall for him, because just his talent, his beauty, everything. She goes, well, That's funny you should say that, honey, because he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman everyone sees, and I was on Viva Las Vegas set with him. I can say it. He was that special Southern gentleman, opening the door for everybody. Didn't matter who you were, and I was just a dancer on set. She says, of course, I had to put up with the one who played Ellie Mae coming and crying and drinking at my house when he dumped her for Priscilla.
That's funny. That's hilarious.
Is that crazy?
That's great.
Like, what do you ever think you'll meet somebody who was, on a set with Elvis? So it was really wild. But
yeah, I love those stories.
Yeah, energy. So now listen, what is coming up? You have this show here, which is great.
Thank you very much.
I want to
Best
know
Damn
what
Internet
else.
Show.
What else?
Well, this is the newest thing that we've got going, Best Damn Internet Show. We're trying really hard to get this off the ground for those who are tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. I was born with a gift of gab, and I know that just by talking to you, I know that we're cut from the same cloth. So being able to do something like this, to talk to people about things that I love, just conversations, just to be able to talk, is really, really cool. I love to do that. I've been told to shut up most of my life just because I'm an information seeker. Actually,
which information? What kind of information do you seek?
Anything. I go in deep dives. I go anything that trips.
You and I have met on Facebook. We've had some debates. I realized that after.
It wasn't really a debate.
No, you remember what it was?
I remember what it was.
I'm afraid to know.
No, it's.
I might have been obnoxious. I know I get a little outspoken.
First, I want to preface this by saying that this is the biggest problem that I have with Facebook, other than people who just don't know etiquette, any kind of etiquette. I'm going to give my theory of Facebook. Facebook is supposed to be a social media site, right? Think about it as being a neighborhood. You have your house, which is your page. You have all your friends that have all the little other houses on your street. Mm-hmm. Imagine walking outside and saying some of the stupid shit that you would say on Facebook if you just walked out your house, opened your door, and screamed that in your neighborhood. You wouldn't be a very popular neighbor. People wouldn't like you very much. So I try to have that same etiquette that I would have in my own neighborhood that I was brought up with. So I don't argue on Facebook. I try not to be. But Facebook has no inflection of tone, which means that if I say, like, wow, what a day, it's the same thing as by saying, wow, what a day.
I love how you said the second one. That was friendly.
Right?
Yeah, it was great.
So I get people.
But don't you think that's like texting? There's problems with texting.
Well, I get people, they write, and they're like, wow, you must be in a mood today. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, what you wrote. And I say, well, what did I write? And so I read it in my voice that's in my head, and it sounds fine. Apparently, they read it in the voice that's their head, and I'm like, you must have had a bad morning because I didn't mean it that way at all. But
did I get upset with you?
No. So when I write something like that, and some people, like, okay, so what it was somebody wrote, and it was something silly, and he was just making a comment. And I talked with him about this. I talked with him. I talked with the gentleman about it. Actually, I wrote him and just said, just to clarify, I'm not mad. I'm not getting on you. But it was a conversation that somebody was having, and what they were doing was they were commenting on a statement that he made. Is if anybody is in a band and they wear their own band shirt at a show,
the band shirt,
it's ridiculous and it's the stupidest thing ever.
That's the one. No, you and I have had other ones besides that, but go ahead.
Probably.
Yeah,
I mean, I have a little thing.
Yeah, it's
but
okay.
I said that. He said
the
that.
Band shirt thing.
And I said that. I was like, hey, it's a bit harsh. I mean, not everybody comes from the same school.
Yeah.
My marketing, the people that I know that do marketing would totally disagree with you. If you're playing and nobody knows who you are, and you wear a band shirt, they're like, oh, that's their band. Oh, that's great. I'm going to remember that.
But But wait a minute. If you're on stage performing and you have it on the kick drum,
it's not always on the
or
kick
the
drum.
flat.
How many people
that's
do
what
you
I
know
think
that have it on the kick drum?
Well, if you're touring, you have it on the kick drum.
How are we talking about even touring? I have to make money in my cover band just like you do in the live band.
A banner.
I have a banner. Some places you
How
can't put
come
it
you
up.
wouldn't? Really? Where?
I have some places where I can't
I've
set
never
up a
had that
March
happen.
table.
I've never had that happen with the banner. Not that there isn't, but you play in different places.
You play different places.
Yeah.
So when you're playing some of these small clubs and you're just hacking it out, doing that, it's not.
You're educating me on this now.
You don't have a band table. You don't. You get up, you do your shows, you're paid to play. You got to do. You make people happy. You sell your beer and you go home.
You can't have a merch table?
So you can, but I mean, when you're playing, now you got to look at it. Some of these bands that are doing the stuff that I do, they play twice a day, like on a Saturday. They'll go do an early show and a day. You don't really want a merch table
because then you have to sit there and you don't get a break.
You want to go and play. You play. You get done. You get paid to play, and you go home. Now, I carry around shirts that I have in the van right? Every now and then, I'll throw on a Shovelhead shirt and I'll play because it's my shirt, cool logo. I had a very fantastic dude make the logo,
and
I'll wear it. And so all I was telling him was, when you say something like that, that's so black and white.
Which is what I did.
There are people. No, you didn't even say
I?
it. Somebody else said, and you said, "Yeah, it's kind of silly if somebody asked me." But your opinion was, somebody asked me that I would tell them that I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
but you can do what you want to do.
Right.
And so it really wasn't about you. And I was like, well, I kind of look at it like this: is that, we don't know each other well enough, but you know I make music, right? And I know that you make music. That whatever you know about me, I mean, you know enough that you're here, right? So I would say that I have some sort of a voice, right?
Yeah.
I would say that there's people out there that probably aspire to do what we do, that they really want to do what we do. And so if I told them that anybody who doesn't have long hair is just an idiot, right? Somebody's going to sit at home. Somebody's going to sit at home.
Now with his bald head.
No, I'm saying that somebody's going to sit at home and they're going to go, well, God, I better grow my hair out. Or if you wear a shirt of your own band, and somebody's going to be sitting there going, well, I wear my own shirt of my own band. I never thought anything was wrong with that. What's wrong with that guy?
But in the context is important because, you see, I thought they were talking about originals. Now, it
doesn't even matter.
Okay, so you say, but see, so my feeling is if you're an original band, you're going to have like a little merch table because you don't want people to walk away. And on your breaks, you're going to dedicate your time to that merch table because, and a lot of people, it's a thing that's good to do.
I look at it like this.
I'm just talking about originals. I'm just talking about wait, but let me
talk. Okay, go ahead.
Let me just finish. Okay, Ken, let me finish. Okay, I like you. Sorry. Okay, so
it was friendly. It was friendly. What I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, that I still want to finish.
I know you want to finish, and I should let you finish. I'm sorry.
Let me finish.
Please.
I'll hurry. I'll done.
No, don't hurry.
Okay,
please tell me.
I feel like I'm in my family. They always do that.
No, I'm not judging
All right.
you.
It's okay. I've been judged plenty of times. So the table is for me to say, we're a new band. We're getting our name out. We're getting our originals out. Take a bumper sticker. Take a pic. Take something. Please remember our name and hear our music. Keep hearing us because we got more. We're going to feed you more.
Exactly.
Right? So that's how I was looking at it. Like, I personally wouldn't want to wear my own shirt anytime. I don't because I wear shirts of people like Jimi Hendrix. Not
sure.
I like to wear other people's shirts, and that's my opinion. But then the weird thing happened with that whole thing that we were in, because we were in this whole post thing. The singer who's out there, who I think she has a great voice, she's like, should I wear it? And I'm like, oh no, you're asking me. And I'm like, no. And then afterwards I felt bad. I'm like, that was a real shitty thing to do, Abby. Like, why are you saying no? And then she's like, no, I shouldn't. Well, I'm going to anyway. And I go, you go for it, girl. You do it. Right. And it's like, no, would you? She asked me my opinion. Now, if you ask me my opinion, you can't get mad if you're asking me what I would do, because I'm going to tell you straight what I would do or what I wouldn't do, right?
Exactly. You give the advice that you feel is good to give.
I felt bad.
My advice is there are so many other things that I could give you good advice about that doesn't even... It's not even on register.
Yeah, I know.
I don't give a fuck what you wear.
Yeah, I know.
You wear whatever you want to wear.
Yeah.
If that's going to make you play better,
exactly.
or you feel comfortable on stage, wear what you want to wear. If you want to have a merch table, have a merch table.
But
if
Ken,
you don't.
Weren't you a social worker?
No.
No?
Social worker. What do you mean?
It was in your profile. Like I looked into you.
No, I did.
Tell me, come on. There's something to this.
No, the social worker part is I was a social worker for the tattoo shop. Basically, what I mean is I was the mouth of the tattoo shop. So when we would go places, I had a fantastic artist, and what I would do is I would do the social work. We would go to a tattoo convention.
Because the answer you just gave was like social worker. Like, you know what you should do. So what should I do with my life? You should do. I'm going to give you the parameters, but really it's up to you to decide.
No, I'm not. I don't even go that far because I really don't. I honestly feel that, and this is my etiquette when I get online. I try not to. I'm jokes and cute stuff. That's me. When I get up and I give an opinion and I go, I feel like this. I cut the people who like me in half. That's how I feel.
Well, yeah.
And then when I make another statement, I cut those people in half, and then I cut those people in half.
Yeah.
My job is not politics. My job is not religion. My job is soul and rock and roll.
So you're saying you don't get into it with the politics ever, I think?
Online? No.
I'll
make it. No, not me. I don't get up and make jokes. I don't even.
I'm going to go look back. All right. So I'm ready.
And if it is, it's very rare.
No,
because
it's not going to be for politics. It's going to be just to see because I was like afraid to come here, kind of, because I was like, oh man, did he, like, we've had some post things, I think. I've never had this happen before.
But even so.
I'm like, I'm a little, like, that's the stuff that makes me nervous. It doesn't make me nervous, like, with lots of other people and things. It makes me nervous if I'm like, oh man, like, is he going to ask me about the post?
This is part of, having a podcast like this is important. That's a part of all of this.
Human.
It's the part of having a real conversation instead of being on Facebook and somebody typing like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that should have happened.
I know.
Well, that's great. I've had people, for example, I posted something about Johnny Cash that, I realized, because I was a huge Johnny Cash fan. I have a Johnny Cash tattoo on my leg.
Love him.
So guy goes and he was like, I hate to burst your bubble. This is how the conversation started. But I think Johnny Cash is absolutely horrid. Blah, 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 blah. And he went on this whole thing.
Craig?
And I looked at it, I was like, I think it's amazing that you would take the time out of your day to spill something negative to me over something that I thought was positive.
Why is that amazing in a good way or amazing in
it just baffles me that you would take your time out of your day just to let you know that you don't like something that I do.
Right.
Instead
like, what's
of
the
saying,
point? Yeah.
Well, that's why I want this podcast. I wanted this podcast because I want to bring people together instead of tearing people apart. Yep. If you watch the news or you do anything, which I try not to watch the news, I try to be very careful of where I get my news and what kind of news I get. So not what type of news I get. I try not to filter my news, but I don't go out and look for gore. My Facebook feed isn't about politics, isn't about, I try to do uplifting things. Things are going to be positive for people. So there are so many things out there that I think are a division. Show us everybody how everybody's different. They show you how you're not like me, how you're not like me, how we are totally different. I would rather talk about the things that make us the same, the things that we try to do positive in our community, that like some of the people that I'm going to try to have on the podcast, like a guy, we'll talk about that coming up, but he just, because he wanted to do something cool, started a charity. And it only benefits people that live local.
Wow.
I did that. I take that back. I got involved with somebody in a thing called B4BC, which is basically breast cancer for women who couldn't afford to get tested and checked. That we paid for that. So all the money, we didn't raise a whole lot of money, but it all went local. I'm a big fan of all that.
Me too. We get involved. We're each of us, Craig and myself, are very much about that.
Right, but that's part of the whole.
Great
that's what I look like. This is like community for me.
Yep.
This is talking to local folks that you're trying to do something like when we talk about the magazine that you guys doing. You're a local magazine right here, and you're doing local things, and you're talking to bigger acts too, and that's great. But you're doing it for people here.
Yep. Yeah, we are. It all started with that, but we'll get into that. So now, what I want to, if you were to,
we're probably going to be butting it up here pretty soon.
All right. Well, anyway, Ken,
you got about 15 minutes.
I do? Okay.
If you want to, finish up whatever you want to talk about.
So
we're all over the place, by the way.
That's
but
how
just
it
to
goes.
sum up that whole thing, it was no big thing. All I was basically saying to the gentleman that made that statement was it's kind of like the whole Peter Parker Spider-Man thing. With great power comes great responsibility. Although you don't think people are watching you, if you look at how many people that you have on your Facebook, you have, I know that I have 3,000 people on my Facebook. I don't know all those people.
Yeah.
But I know those people that they like my music, or are familiar with my music, or liked it at one point in time, or whatever. So if I make a statement like that of like you shouldn't do, I just think that those are, and to find the context of that actual statement, he was talking about a live national touring act that he thought it was funny that this national touring act was wearing.
So he's just like mocking it.
Or maybe
whatever,
I don't know his intent,
who knows?
But his whole thing was there was no context of who he was talking to, but he is a local musician. So when he said that, the people who were actually commenting on it were local musicians that follow his work. So I was like, those are the people you're talking to. You're not talking to everybody who knew the band that you went to saw. You're talking with people who think you're literal. So I was just like, geez, got to kind of be conscious about.
I think we do. I think. Like I've gotten to,
or maybe I'm just being too serious.
You are, Ken. Lighten up, man. It's just Facebook. Everybody's insane.
Oh, it is, and I don't.
People are not. Look, I've had a gig where somebody comes over and they're like, "Hey, John," and I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure who you are.
Yeah.
Did we meet? And I'm like, no. He goes, you know my buddy John. I'm like, John who? And I mean, and then I thought to myself, God, you know, Facebook, as great as it is, it's a little shallow sometimes when you have a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend, and they've hooked into your vibe and you've accepted it, and you know, because you know that they know the people you know, but then it's a little weird when they come to the gigs when you don't know them. I always feel like I should know, like you know. I know it sounds crazy. It's me being a little. I'm being a little neurotic. I know, but
well,
it's like
they have to understand where we come from. You know, it's like I'm a regular dude. Like if you look at my Facebook, it'll be Ken Hurley, and then it'll say Rockstar Ken. So Rockstar Ken's that's the lead singer guy. That's the entertainer dude. That's the guy that's into the art. The guy that's a tattoo, whatever biker dude. And then you have Ken. You know, Kenneth Darren Hurley, who is the dude who sits at home most of the time by himself and likes his quiet time. And I have a bit of social anxiety sometimes. So when I'm not on stage and I'm standing in the crowd, I do get social anxiety and I get weirded out and I can't stay in there and I don't want to be in there. And
I hear you.
People come up to me because you are Rockstar Ken. They'll come up and they think, and I take that as a compliment because there's something that resonates in whatever I do that they feel familiar with me to where they can come up and talk to me like a friend. Problem is I don't know you.
Yeah.
And so some people cross those weird boundaries of trying to be too close too soon.
They don't realize.
And I'm trying to be a nice guy because I don't want to alienate anybody. I'm not a bad guy.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome that anybody would take any time out of their day to listen to anything that I had to say. I really am humble. I mean, I'm humbled to that. I mean, I tell everybody who goes to my shows, and I say this and I mean it, that you could be anywhere in the world, but you chose to be here right now. And that was a choice, and you're choosing to stay here to listen to our band, and that means everything to us. So we want you to have a good time, and we try our hardest to make sure they do. But there is a weird things that come up, and they're like, "Hey!" and then they say some really off-color joke, and you're like, "What do I do?"
What about the person who gets your name like Carl, you're so good on vocal, and then I'm like,
Here's
and
the
and yelling for like 3 hours, and then at the end of the blues gig, this was a few years back, and I go, "No, Carl." I go, hey, guy, calm down a little. See that guy over there? That's Carl. He's a guitar player. I think when I was telling the band names, you may have gotten, I'm Abby. That's Carl. Right. Oh, Abby, I'm sorry, Abby. And it was so funny. We were dying.
Even better.
He was laughing. We were like, we all had a good time with it.
Bass player sings a song. We have a bass player who just started playing with us at a few gigs. And he gets up and he's got a couple songs that he sings. And so he gets up and sings this song. And it's a pretty standard cover. Cover song, and we go out during the breaks. I go out to my car. I try not to hang in the club or whatever we're at. I try to go outside and just kind of chill out. And so I'm standing up there, and the dude comes up to me, and he's of course 2 inches from my face, and he was like, "Dude, that was the best thing I ever heard in my life, especially the last song that you sang." And he named the song, which is a song I did not sing. And he goes, "That was the best version of that song I've ever heard in my life."
Oh my
and I was like, "Hey man, I just try to give it to you the best I can give it to you."
I love that. Oh my god.
Yeah, he's like, "That was the best version I ever heard," and I was like, "Well, you know,
that's hilarious." Yeah, man. You know, I'll try to get him to do that for you every time.
No, I was like, "Hey man, you know, I'm just giving you the best I got. I'm glad you enjoy it."
The female in the group, that would be a big issue.
Yeah, no, yeah, I've had that happen.
So thought I'd give you the castrati.
So, but yeah.
So now, tell me the best concerts that you have ever, hands down, that you just were blown away seeing live.
2004, Reverend Horton Heat and Scotty Parker.
Reverend Horton, you saw him?
I saw Reverend Horton Heat probably 14 times.
Wait, Aquarium Rescue, isn't that? Wait, no, that's not
Reverend Horton Heat is a rockabilly guy from Texas.
Yeah, but okay, I think there's someone else. There's an album.
He has some funny songs. That he's great. He's one of the best guitar players you've ever heard in your entire life.
And doesn't he plays with groups that are like? I mean, he's got some.
As far as I know, he does his own thing. And
check out Aquarium Rescue Unit.
Yeah, he probably does.
Check it out.
But that was one of the best shows I ever saw. And he had the guy Elvis's guitar player, Scotty Parker, opened up for them with Lee Rocker, which was the bass player for the Stray Cats. So they came out and did a show.
Oh, that
and
must
they
have
did
been
all
great.
the old school Elvis stuff, and it was amazing.
Must
and
have
then
been.
after that, then Reverend Horton, he came out and did just, he's like that almost psychobilly, rockabilly, real high energy.
Amazing, yeah.
Crazy plan.
I've heard. about
Other
that.
show that another best show that I went to was the first time Eric Clapton came out and played after his son died.
Oh,
and he did
really?
an all acoustic blues show with Stevie Ray Vaughan's brother opening for him.
You're kidding.
And so it was an all blues, yeah. And I ended up I was dating a girl whose father-in-law worked for Q95, Bob and Tom syndicated show out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and he was Sid Gurney was the character's name. He was but he was like one of the producers of the show, and so he gave me tickets, and I sat eye level from about here to the door to Eric Clapton, and it was just 5 guitar players, and they all did acoustic shows. And I had one asshole behind me going, Layla! And so, like, somebody drug him out after, like, the second time he sang it. But he was like, it's not that show, man. He's not going to be doing that song at all tonight.
Let me ask you about him. I've never seen him live. I've always wanted to, and I hear he's not going to be doing much. Does he talk a lot to the audience?
Nope.
He's more introverted, right?
Yeah, he's really not. Actually, the funniest part of that show that I remember more than anything is that one of the guys that was doing stand-up singing for... I'll never forget this, actually, and it's crazy that it's crazy the things that you think of. When Jimmy Vaughn was up playing, I was, because I'm up like one tier, but I'm in the VIP kind of area, and so I'm looking right at Jimmy Vaughn, and then his backup singers were standing behind me, and the guy was wearing a purple overalls with the button flat butt. You know what I mean? It was the weirdest outfit I've ever seen in his life. And halfway through the show, the button came off. So I'm staring at this guy's ass for like half the show.
All right,
and
that's something we need to talk about when I come back.
He's up there doing, and I'm just like going. I'm watching Jimmy Vaughn.
That's what's distracting you.
Like,
one of these.
Why is this guy putting his pants back on?
It's like one of these things is not like the other.
Yeah, it was pretty
One
crazy.
of these
It was
things
crazy.
just
But between that guy and then the guy yelling Layla, I thought it was pretty crazy.
Okay, so was it as phenomenal as the Unplugged album that we're always hearing?
Well, it was way more raw and way more emotional. So when he did Tears in Heaven, you just
how could he do that a year later? I mean, I know music's healing, but how do you not get emotional? I mean,
there's certain songs. My mom died in 2006, and there's certain songs that I can't even think about without just losing
hear you.
it.
Especially when you lose a parent. Like, how do you explain that to... Have you ever gotten, like... You try to explain to a friend who hasn't lost a parent what it feels like. That's like trying to explain love to somebody who's never been in love.
Yeah, explaining to somebody who's blind the color blue.
Yeah, you can't. Right?
It's
Until you
just
go
it's
through
the
it.
hardest
There's like an
thing in the entire
innocence
world.
with each parent. It's like there's something that really... It's like you always knew they're there, and then they're not.
Yeah,
that happened with my dad. It's like...
The only way I can describe it is that, when my dad passed away first, and then my mom passed away. So my mom passed, my mom passed away 3 years ago. My dad passed away in 2006. So when he died, I had to be strong, because it's the father figure, you know what I mean? I don't know what dynamic everybody else has, but I had to be the strong dude for my mom. And so that hurt a lot, but I was able to be a man, whatever that means. In the Southern sense of, you got to be strong, whatever. And I know in today's climate that's going to, people are going to eat that up, but I didn't mean anything sexist by that, but you know what I mean? You're the type of person.
I think it's more of a guy.
Whatever.
It's a guy.
It's a guy thing.
It's like the fathers raise their son to be tough. It's a guy.
Yeah.
thing.
And then that Southern Southern demographic, I guess, there's a role that they expect the men to play. And so I was strong from my dad. When my mom died, I was a 5-year-old again. I was.
So who was there for you, your brother?
Nah, they were all dealing with it in their own way.
Or they were just like,
my mom was the
out.
patriarch. So my mom was she was the singer. She was everybody looked up to my mom, like everybody. I can't tell you how many people that would she would just go and pray with or go and do whatever with. And so like that's always been the thing. And that's how I grew up so fast, is because when you're hanging out with somebody like that and somebody comes up and they're talking to you and you're singing, they look at you like they look at her, and they're talking to you and you're 7 and you're like, you know,
This is my mom.
So this is my mom. I sing with my mom.
Oh, that's not the reaction I have with my mom. My mom is like Lucille, but she is all zany. Everyone's in love with her, and she's easy to talk to. And I'm a little more guarded. Like, you know, I am. So my mom walks in the room. She's friends with everyone in a second.
My mom too.
Yeah. If I travel with, how was your mom? Have you ever traveled with your mom?
Yeah, well, we always traveled together. So it was never like it was cricks. It was like a family dynamic when we traveled. It wasn't just like being able to see my mom act crazy in public, because she was really, I mean, when I say poor, I mean, you hear these stories about poor. They were actually like 12 people living in a one room, literally. Wow. And like they would, you know, they were so poor that when everybody got poor, that they didn't know everybody else was poor. They just thought everybody was like them. Yeah. So they would have to cut baseboards out to sew in their shoes, so they'd have shoes. I mean, they were poor.
That's both of my grandmothers, and they ended up getting into business. So, you know, I revered them like you wouldn't believe.
Later on in life, when Mom,
you revere her because she got through it, huh?
Well, yeah, but I didn't know that side of her.
Oh,
I heard those stories inside of her. I know my mom being the singer. I knew my mom, like, she was always babysitting. Like, she was like a professional nanny at one point, like to where she raised other kids. So I was
nurturing. That's cool.
Yeah, so she's that. So, but we'd also have these. Like, I talked to a friend of mine's mom the other day, and she said that how, like, when her mom was, that they'd go out places and she would meet people, and those people would like talk to her mother, and her mother knew things about her, and how's your wife, how's your kid, or whatever like that. And then the daughter was sitting there going, my mom she didn't even talk to me that way. Like, how does she dare? She's talking to, and that's kind of the way it was with my mom. It's like, I would go out, everybody knew my mom. My mom knew everybody, but I didn't have those conversations.
Did that annoy you sometimes?
Sometimes.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, I get annoyed sometimes. I feel it's sort of like, can you just stop? Like, sometimes I'd be like, can you, like, isn't this like, do you have to be friends with do you have to know everything? Like,
people get that way with me.
Really?
Yeah.
You need to hang out with my mom. She would love it.
I was with a girl yesterday, and just how I am. Like, I walked in, and I walked into Whole Foods, and so I saw, and I was like, hey, man, something. Okay. Oh, yeah. We had a small, short conversation. Walked to the next person. Just so happened, opportunity for another conversation. Had a short little conversation. Gone to the next person. She goes, I don't know how you do that. It's like uncomfortable sometimes. And I go, what do you mean? She didn't mean it in a bad way, but she was just like, I'm just kind of an introvert. So when you go out, you can have a conversation so easily with anybody. And I like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm not like, I am that way here. My mom's surprised. Like, she's like, you're getting interviewed? Like, she knows I can interview people, but she's like, I don't know how you do it, because you have a shine. I have a shyness. I really, if someone doesn't know me, and they think that I'm mad, and I'm not. I'm just taking everything in. Yeah. I just hang low, and I get the vibe to see who, the energy like you're talking about.
Right.
But it's like, when you have a mom who's an extrovert, I think sometimes it can make you sort of go a little, well, I had a mom who was like, you need to talk to people. There's more to life than just, she would give me that. So we traveled last year. Oh, it was hysterical. There's my mom. We're seeing, I kid you not, I go just to get a cup of coffee. I leave my mom at the gate. I'm like, I got to get something. We have to wait now an hour and a half. I go, I get some, I come back. My mom's friends with everyone around her. They're all talking to her. Yeah. And they go, hey, we met your mom. We know so much about you. And I'm like, and I'm thinking to myself, I never bring anything with me to read. I never read. I don't have time. I'm always on my phone or doing work. And this was supposed to be the time that I could just hang and be quiet. Yeah. Now I got 5 people who want to know my life.
Yeah, it's nothing like walking back into it. You go to the bathroom, come back, and they go, so this is your son, huh?
Right, you have to talk.
And you're like,
and you can't not talk, right? Because your mom's there. Like, you have to say something.
Well, you have to.
You don't want to be impolite.
There's a role that you play, and especially if you're doing the church thing, you can't just stand there. So when people come up and they talk to you, you have to be polite. You have to talk. So that's when I talk about like the humbleness and all that stuff, and it came pretty earnestly. I mean, so like it's weird. I still have the Southern kid in me.
You have so much of it. You can't be with a woman who's not like, can you be with a woman who's introverted if you have a mom who's extroverted? Is that easy for you? Or would it be easier to have someone who's more like loose and like, hey?
Sometimes I can't, I'm so crazy. I can't really have somebody who's too crazy. Like too much energy.
Messes with your chi.
Yeah, I freak out.
Yeah.
Like, but I've have.
Well, what do you
like,
mean crazy? Like somebody who talks is crazy? Or
Nah, I mean, like, look.
crazy mental? Or
Okay, if I'm hanging out with the boys, like if I'm hanging out with the old tattoo crowd, and somebody ramped it up, like I'm off the rails by that point. Like, because they ramp it up, and then I ramp it up, and then it's ramped up, and the next thing
I
you know,
see.
it's ramps.
It's got you crazy.
Like,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I have a ton of energy when I really want to pour it on, but I got to feel comfortable doing it. So,
Yeah.
like, you know, it's the same way, like, it shows. Like, it's like I don't get hammered at shows, but, like, you give me 2-3 whiskeys, and I'll be, like, nice in it, and then I'm on it, you know?
Yeah. If I did 2 or
Weird.
3 whiskeys, I'll be like,
Don't give me tequila.
oh, no, me either. I get,
There's a guy named Bobby
I love
Sherman.
it.
who's
like,
a
I
guitar-
like it a
who's
mixed.
drummer
I'm
around,
gonna
or
be
he's
all,
a bass player around town.
Yeah.
He used to do a jam night with me. Ask him if you ever see him.
Why?
Anybody out
What
there?
happens to you? Come on, just tell us.
Anybody out there?
You
if ever
wouldn't.
see
Hey,
him?
if you're going to put that on the table, those cards, you have to
Don't-
tell us
Now
about
you have
it.
to go around and find Bobby Sherman. Now you have to mess with his life, and you have to ask him. Basically, what happened is the guy came up, and we were doing a jam night, and I guess he normally does the karaoke at that place when that place was around. And he kept coming in for 5 minutes and be like, "When am I going to sing?" And I was like, "Did you put your name on the list?" And he'd be like, "Yeah." Of course, he never put his name on the list.
I love it.
And so
Awesome.
we're doing a show, and somebody brings me a tequila.
Don't you just want to grab the guy and throw him on the stage? Hey, right now.
No,
Just
no,
get him
no.
off guard.
No. What I did was way better, apparently.
Tell me.
He walks up to the stage, and I'm like, he walks up to the stage for the last time. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna get on the microphone, and I'm like, all right, just let everybody know, this isn't karaoke. I don't care how many times you come to this bar. I don't care how many times you're the karaoke king here. This is jam night. Put your name on the list. When it gets to the call, I'll call you. Otherwise, go sit down and have your beer. And the dude's face went.
And no one signed up.
And he turned. No, everybody was already signed it. And everybody else that was there was like, we're totally sick of this
Because
dude's
they
voice.
just want it. They're just like, can you get organizing
Yeah,
people
could
on
you
the stage?
totally get this guy to shut up? And so I had the owner going, man, he comes in here every night. He comes in here every night. And I said, look, I appreciate the fact that he comes in here every night. I said, but that dude needs to learn some etiquette. And he's
I
not
love
showing
it.
me any
Oh,
respect.
so you think you don't need to do the rules? So you know what we're gonna do later is we're going and finishing Game of Thrones because
I've read. Okay, so that's
I
the
gotta
other
tell
thing
you,
I
can I
wanted
just-
to talk to you, and I can't wait.
have
to
you been
talk to
seeing my posts?
Yes, I have been.
All
I
right.
have not said
this
a
has
word.
been an emotional thing for
It
me.
has been.
It's no, it really has.
Oh,
Bec-
I could tell. I could
I'm
tell by your
serious,
thing.
like, when every
you were
time-
like, I'm almost done with this show. Who does that sort of thing?
Okay, so you know how you were raised with the whole gospel thing? Like, I was raised with the whole don't lie, don't steal. Like, if my mom, I remember times growing up, my mom, like, we'd find $10. I'm like, we found $10. She's like, no, we just came out of that store and it came from the person from that store and we are returning that $10. And I'm like, Mom, it fell. It's not our problem.
It's free money,
I'm
Mom.
Like, Mom, the universe is giving. Like, I would try
Exactly,
her
dude,
stuff on me, her
universe,
hippie
yeah,
stuff,
yeah,
because
yeah,
she had some, like, hippie energy. I'm like, no. So, okay, so Game of Thrones is very emotional for me because
I'm not going to get into this too much.
we can't because we
here's
got to
the deal.
finish
When
up.
you come back,
when I
we're
come
gonna
back,
talk,
please, can we
'cause
talk about it? I'm
One
having
thing-
a hard time.
Okay, one thing that I'm totally into is I'm totally a nerd when it comes to the comic books, comic book movies.
I'm a nerd too. I get it.
Cartoons,
Yeah.
Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
old
I have that
Walking
about me.
Dead, all that stuff. So,
I
and
am
when
too.
I say I go in deep, you're gonna see how deep.
We're gonna talk about it because
I know names.
I need your
I know
help.
countries.
I need your help because
It's sad.
I have a real hard, like, I have had to walk out of the room when Bolton does something. He really he goes against every, and he does it so well. Like, part of me is like, what a great
Which
actor.
Roos or his son?
The son, Ramsey.
Ramsey Bolton.
I can't handle him. He reminds me of every bad thing I can't handle him. And I end up going, and then I walk out of the room to go get a snack or whatever. I'm like, I can't be in here. Like, I'm literally, I have never
That's
been
because
so.
he did it good.
He did, but people.
Joaquin Phoenix ruined me for Johnny Cash because of how
my-
awesome of a job
amazing.
he played in
He
Gladiator.
was really Gladiator.
Like, I saw him and I was like, I hate that dude so much. And then I watched it, I'm like, they're letting this guy be Johnny Cash. I literally,
Right.
that was
Don't
what
you
I was
love
saying.
when you
I was
do that
like,
at
Are
first?
you kidding me? They're not
Yeah.
letting him, this snoveling little.
And then he's phenomenal.
Yeah, then he's great.
And you're like,
and I didn't want to like
you
him.
didn't. I know.
It took me 3 times watching the movie.
You know who else I felt that way about? The guy who did, what was his name from the one who did the Ray Charles story.
Oh, yeah.
He won an award. I mean,
Well,
he won the
Jamie
Oscar.
Foxx. Well, the crazy
Jamie
thing,
Foxx. I mean,
here's what's crazy
I
is
saw-
that
didn't
he
you-
sang those songs.
I know. Amazing.
So when you hear
Phenomenal.
him sing it, there's one part in the movie that they couldn't have done it any better because it's him looking exactly like Ray Charles, sounding like Ray Charles,
Phenomenal.
and he played the piano too.
He did?
great.
He
Yeah.
did not.
Oh yeah,
Has
he's
he
a
not
classical piano player.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's how he came
Yeah,
up.
but still, that's a
No,
different
no, no.
style.
When you hear him, you can actually hear him play the piano, and he breaks into that. When he gets to the Ray Charles stuff, he gets
Oh,
right
man.
into it.
Yeah, but see, when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, really? A comic is going to, like, come on. You know, I was used to him in, like, Living Color, you know? Like,
Well, it's just like, I mean,
you
but
like
it's just
alligators,
but it's
you know,
just
the
like
whole
you, though. I
thing
mean,
is
okay, so like,
but amazing.
all of my experiences back then got me my comedy thing. So if you would have saw me, well, it's just like, okay, when I first came out and did music, people only knew me from doing modern rock. So when I started doing the Southern stuff, which is the stuff that I grew up doing, people were like, oh, that's amazing. So then, you know, I lose one group of people and then I gain another group of people. So when I go back and do modern rock again, they're like, oh, you're going to do modern rock? I only thought you did old classical Southern rock. And I'm like, here we go.
Do you start breaking out, I gotta be me?
I'm just like, well, I hope you like what you hear. I just try not to.
All right. Well, yeah, so let's get, when I come back, you got to heal me with that because, yeah, I need.
I'm going to help you. So
I-
we're going to get through it. No problem.
Well, I'm probably going to be done with it by the time I'm already up
It's going to be a
to.
couple weeks.
I'm
But when we
almost-
come back,
I'm
no, see, this is
approaching-
why I can't say anything now because
Don't.
I know things
But I'm-
that you're getting ready to find out.
Season 7, it's like Revenge Payback from what I understand.
Season 7 is my favorite season.
Okay. And everybody, then why did they do 8? Just generally, because everyone talks
Eight's
about
got
7,
a-
7, 7, 7.
7 sets you up for 8.
And 8 is closure kind of deal.
8's closure.
Okay. And then they're doing the prequel.
They're doing a prequel.
Okay.
And it's going to be set 2,000 years ahead of time. They're so deep.
I need
Okay,
for
do
you to
know-
answer 2 questions about it.
Okay.
Then
go
we
ahead.
can be done.
See if I can answer
And
these
then we'll come
questions,
back.
and I'll
We'll
do my
have
best.
to revisit.
Well, we're going to be
those.
wrapping them up here in a minute, and I'm going to be doing my outro in just a second.
Oh, but I
We
want
may even break this up into
I have
2
more
episodes.
to ask you, but
Oh, we're gonna have tons, and then you know what we do the second time? We're
What?
gonna do the exact same thing we did here. You can talk to me. I'm gonna talk to you because this is what I really want. I want
Yeah.
a conversation.
wait,
I don't
okay.
want fodder. I don't want somebody. Well, I have a show coming up next weekend, and they're gonna be. You know, I don't want any of that. I want to be like, this is how I feel about this.
Can I
or, this
plug
is how
why
I like
people
it.
like us?
Absolutely. That
That's
comes at
why
the end.
people like us.
Yes. Yes.
Because we, like, I always thought it was bad that I wasn't asking enough about equipment or whatever. And you don't always know what to ask artists. Sometimes you want to ask them the stuff that's been asked, but then I'm thinking, no, Abby, do your research. You know, you have to be ready. You have to be ready. You know, that whole part of me.
Mm-hmm.
So then when I approach it, I'm like, hey, this is a brand new person in front of me who's had all these experiences. And some of them I'm going to learn about for my music. And I want to bring to the table who they are really. Like, who are they really?
Sure.
Not all the nonsense. Everybody spins everything out. So that's all. I think that's why it's worked. But I want to know when I can hear you playing out because
This Friday night, I'm going to be at Road Dog Saloon on State Road 84
Okay.
up by Flamingo. We're going to be with the band Shovelhead. We go on around, I want to say 9:30, 10 o'clock.
hit me
And,
with some things that we could hear. That we're
you're
going to
be hearing, at this show, you're going to be hearing Blackberry Smoke. You're going to be hearing Smallman Brothers. You're going to be hearing Chris Cornell. You're going to be hearing, I run the gambit of everything I do. You're going to hear a little Rolling Stones. You're going to hear a little bit of everything.
That's awesome.
So I try to do, if anybody knows, I've come kind of full circle and everything. So I try to give you a little bit of everything. And I try to make sure that the songs that I do play, that my guys play them the best that they can play them. That's why we're playing those songs. And I can sing them the best that I can sing them. That's why we're singing them. So
That's
so
great. I want to. We gotta go check.
that's happening this Friday, and then the last Saturday of every other month, I do the bike night for Premier Billiards in Coral Springs. So if you can't see this show, next Friday I'll be at Premier Billiards in Coral Springs.
What time is that going to be?
That starts at 9:30.
Okay, cool. Very good. This has been
And as
fun.
always, we're going to be doing the Best Damn Internet show. I have Freedom of Peach. I'm working really, really hard to get all those guys to come down from. It's going to be a hybrid band. I've got some fantastic players from Florida. They're going to be meeting the rest of the guys from New Orleans, and we're going to be putting together some shows. So
Can't wait to hear
So
it.
the band's called Freedom of Peach. You can find us on Facebook. You can find Shovelhead on Facebook. I also am probably going to be doing some acoustic shows as well, and I love doing those. We do a four-man band, all acoustic rock show. So we do those, and I've been doing that for years.
Where
as
do
well.
you where can we find you doing that?
You can just check Facebook. My
Okay.
shows are pretty random right now, just because I've had a ton of stuff going on in my life. I was really sick early this year. Actually, the beginning part of last year, I had pneumonia and the flu. Almost didn't make it, folks.
Whoa. Are you serious?
I was doing
When
pretty
did you
bad.
know? Tell me when you knew.
What do you mean?
Like, when did you figure, like, so you end up in the hospital or something?
Yeah,
I mean,
I went to the emergency room.
after how
within
long,
2
though?
days.
after how long?
What
Oh,
do you
2
mean?
days.
Within 2 days, I went to the emergency room twice.
Wow.
So I was doing pretty bad. I had a really bad fever, and was
How
doing-
does that
was doing
happen?
real
I
bad.
always wonder, like, a flu is a flu. How does it get that bad?
Just part of the job that I had before, one of the jobs that I had before, a couple of the jobs that I did. I don't know. It just, I ended up getting fluid in my lungs and got pneumonia. Which, so now I have to watch all that. So folks, be very
Give us some
careful.
warning signs, like if you're finding you're waking up in a pool of sweat.
It's a pool of sweat, but it's actually tightness of your chest, and it's actually coughing up things, and you end up coughing so hard that you feel like you're going to break your ribs, and you can't catch your breath, and you lose air capacity in your lungs.
You
So-
weren't walking around like that for 2 days, were you?
Oh yeah, I didn't even know. I'm a Marine, so like when I'm like, if I'm not dead, so I'm moving.
A Marine almost died.
So
you better not do that
I
anymore.
literally got up and was like, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to walk around the yard. And I took like 5 feet. And then next thing I know, I'm crawling because I can't catch my breath. It was like the worst thing. It's the first time I actually felt like I was mortal. like, oh, this could be it in. But no, it was pretty rough. But on that note, we're gonna save a bunch of this stuff so we can talk later. Abbe,
Thank you.
you're fantastic. I had
It
a
was
great time
easy.
talking-
You're
totally
easy. You're easy to interview. I'm going to tell you next time when you do go to interview me, I'm going to tell you some. It's not always easy.
I know it's not. Yeah,
You know?
I've done this before. One of the other things I used to do was I interviewed for a tattoo magazine back before for a video magazine. So before the internet and all that crazy stuff, if you wanted to see tattoos, you either had to buy the local like tattoo magazine, or you went to a convention, and that's the way you would be able to see your artist that you read about. That was amazing. And so I helped this guy out only a few times, but I would go around because I have the gift of gab, and he would videotape the conventions. So I would show you, hey, this is so-and-so. He's the work that you always saw, blah, blah, blah. And so, and you talk to these guys who sit in a tattoo shop 12 hours a day. And so you're like, so tell me about whatever's going on. Nothing.
Yep. There's
And
nothing you can
you're
do.
like,
Yeah. And that wasn't even a yes or no.
yeah. Right.
Can you describe the nothing?
Right.
Right.
Exactly. It's crazy.
All right. Well, no, that wasn't like, hey, I'm glad it was fun. Thank you so much. And I want to hear you with Shovelhead and all that stuff.
Well, I want to tell you all about it, and I can't wait. If you guys are out there in internet land, definitely come see us. We're going to be playing all around. What are some of the shows that you have coming up?
We are recording. There's some interest we're very, very grateful for. And but we need to record more of my tunes. So we are going into the studio to do that next month. And then we're going to turn around and just go bam, bam, bam and give it to the people who've been asking.
Mm-hmm.
And then they already have us starting to submit to some rock fest and stuff. Even though I'm like, well, I don't want to jump the gun, but I have more songs than I can tell you about. I walk
Keep writing
around
them.
with guitar lines in my head. I feel a little mad, but yeah, it's cool. And that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Well, we're going to see you in the next couple of weeks, ladies and gentlemen. Put your hands together for updates.
I love that. It's so much fun. I want that at my house.
I'll go ahead and wrap everything up. Live Stream Entertainment, just to let you know, they have March 25th in Coral Springs. You have the Coral Springs All-Stars. Is that correct? So that is March 25th, Coral Springs All-Stars. Where is that located? At the Funky Biscuit. So that March 25th, Coral Springs All-Stars is going to be at the Funky Biscuit, and Live Stream Entertainment is going to be doing live stream of that event. They're also going to be doing the 5th annual Wings Fest at Bergeron Rodeo Grounds April 6th. So look for both of those things for live stream entertainment. As far as me, that's all I got going on. I got a show coming up this week, folks, at Road Dogs. Make sure you're there with bells on, have some fun, drink some whiskey with the band, sing a song if you know it. Steve, are you still there? Nope. Steve's not there.
I am still here.
Steve's here. Steve, I felt so bad.
No,
you were so patient.
here.
I was going to wait for you to chime in anytime.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, buddy.
Good. Okay. Because we were breaking up there right towards the end. No, I'm here. I was utterly fascinated. I didn't know a lot of that stuff.
Really?
About you.
One of my oldest friends didn't know any of that
I
stuff,
was-
Abby. Just so you know. Most of the things that I
A
talked
lot of
about.
a lot of it I didn't know.
Right.
Yeah, so I
Well,
was
there you
really
are.
happy to learn this. I think that's a good way to start out the show with me knowing something about you.
Right. It's about time that Steve knew something about
I
me.
didn't know you sang in a band.
Right. You have a podcast? That's crazy. Right.
What? Your
Well,
last name is Hurley? That
your last
sounds
name is
familiar.
Hurley. It's like, I don't even know you, Keith. That was a joke. I just made fun of my name, right? Well, Steve, this has been an interesting show. I've never had anybody interview me like that before, and that's really, really cool. We're going to be talking about Abbe Davis in a couple of weeks. She's going to come on, and we're going to be talking about all the things that she has going on, her web magazine, keeping rock and roll alive here in South Florida. So we're looking for that. For all the folks who watched today, sorry we had problems live streaming, but we're going to get that worked out. That being said, we're always looking for sponsors, folks. We're trying to make this better. We're trying to make the content better. With that is an ongoing thing. There's equipment that we're trying to get that will help us be able to broadcast from anywhere. So for those of you at home, if you like what you see and you like supporting your local guys and you like what me and Steve are trying to bring to you and Livestream Entertainment's trying to bring to you every week, please be a supporter. You can support an individual show or just be a regular sponsor. I'm not one, I don't like going out asking for folks for money, but, it just is what it is. To keep this going, we're going to have to do something. So that being the case, folks, if you want to sponsor your business or whatever, or get in cahoots with us here at Livestream Entertainment, please reach out to us. Reach out to Doug at Livestream Entertainment or me, Ken Hurley, off the Best Internet Show, and we'll try to set something up. I want to advertise for you or do whatever we got to do, but I want it to be people who are local. I want to be folks that that we can grow together, if you know what I'm saying. What do you think about that, Steve?
I know what you're saying. I think that's a terrific idea.
That's a terrific idea.
I love it.
Right. I like
Yeah.
eating.
Why grow apart when you can grow together?
Right. Exactly. Like a Siamese twin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we should be grafted together. I think that would be fun.
Yeah,
it would make for an interesting show too.
Ken likes long walks on the beach. Steve doesn't.
Well, but how are they going to work this out?
right. On the next
Find out
episode
next
of
week
Siamese
on the
Twin.
Best Damn Internet Show.
Yeah, find out next week on the Best of Internet Show. That's it. And folks, on that note, coming here live from, or actually coming here pre-recorded from the Crooked Hook Bar and Grill in Coral Springs, Florida. By way of Livestream Entertainment, this is Ken Hurley and Steven Sperling from the Best Damn Internet Show. We wish you the very best in life. Be good to one another. We're all we got, folks. Hug your mamas. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care.
Peace.